We're leaving this house. Huh? I didn't understand what he meant. We're giving the house to Matt. What? What are you talking about? You can't make decisions like that on your own. Shut up, you don't get to talk back to me. We're giving the house to my brother. If you don't agree, we're getting a divorce. At that moment, all the feelings I had left for my husband completely vanished. Fine, let's get a divorce then. My name is Sarah, and I'm 32 years old. I've been married to my husband, Tom, for 4 years. We wanted kids, but it never worked out, so it's just been the two of us. At one point, we thought about getting fertility treatments, but Tom said it would be fine if it was just us. I was so happy when he said that. I thought I could be happy spending the rest of my life with just him. But lately, things have been tough, and I can't say our life is happy anymore. Tom's parents both passed away recently. His dad died from cancer, and his mom, who was already sick, got worse and died shortly after. We've been busy dealing with the funerals and sorting out their property, so we haven't had much time to relax together as a couple. On top of that, Tom always thought the husband should be in charge. He's been strict with me sometimes, and he'd make me look bad in front of others, trying to appear humble. As his wife and part of his family, I understood where he was coming from, but lately, it's gotten worse. He treats me like I'm a bad wife. If I make even the smallest mistake with housework, he scolds me like I've done something terrible. Before we got married, we worked together, and he was my boss. Because of that, I think Tom still sees me as someone who works for him, even in our marriage, but that's not how I want our marriage to be. I just want him to treat me better as his wife. Not everything about him is bad, though. When we worked together, he gave me important projects to help me grow, but he'd always be there to help if I needed it. He listened to my concerns and made me feel like I could rely on him. He'd always say, "You did a great job." When we finished a project, at work, he was so charming that I completely fell for him. The real reason I decided to marry Tom was because he was there for me when I lost my uncle, who I was very close to. We had been dating for a year and a half before we got married. I quit my job and now work part-time while also doing the housework. Tom has been really busy lately and comes home late. He does a lot of overtime, usually getting home around 9:30 p.m. He's a manager, so I understand why it's hard for him. "Hope you didn't have too rough of a day today," I say when he comes home. But he doesn't answer. "What's for dinner?" That's always the first thing he asks. "Oh, I made curry." He doesn't respond to that and just says, "Beer." As he sits down at the table, I pick up his suits off the floor and quickly grab him a beer. He likes it really cold, so I have to make sure it's been in the freezer for about 30 minutes before he gets home. If it's frozen, he gets mad, so I have to time it just right. I always feel nervous waiting for him to come home, but he doesn't seem to care about any of the little things I worry about. After dinner, he heads straight for the shower. I have to put his clean clothes and towels in the bathroom, then clear the dishes. I never know what might upset him. Today, he yelled, "Hey, why isn't there any chocolate mint ice cream?" "I'm sorry, they didn't have it at the nearby supermarket." He glared at me, went to the bedroom, and went to sleep. He's never been much of a talker, and we don't really have conversations anymore. I know he's probably tired from work, but we haven't really spoken in about 6 months. But I still have feelings for him. Like I said, he comforted me when I lost my uncle, and that's one reason I still trust him. When my parents divorced while I was in middle school, I lived with my mom, but when I was in high school, she got sick and passed away. After that, I lived with my uncle. He was like a father to me, and I loved him a lot. He paid for me to go to college, and when I started working, I would save money to take him to nice restaurants and buy him gifts. I was really happy living with him, and I'm so thankful for everything he did for me. My dad wasn't a good man, so to me, my uncle was more of a father. Sadly, my time with him didn't last. My uncle got cancer, the same kind my mom had, and passed away. I don't know if it's genetic, but it broke my heart to lose him so soon. He was all the family I had left, and I felt completely alone. There was so much I still wanted to do with him, like take him on a trip to thank him. For a while, I didn't even feel like eating. That's when Tom came over to comfort me. He asked me why I was so sad, and when I told him, he said, "That must be really tough for you. Thank you for working so hard during such a rough time." Tom had always been a strict boss, but I felt comforted by his warm and kind words. Because of this, I trusted him completely, even though he could be tough sometimes. I wanted to keep our relationship strong as a married couple. But everything was about to change because of a phone call from Tom's brother, Matt. "It's good to hear from you, Matt. What's going on? I need to tell you something. Is Tom there?" Matt didn't sound very cheerful, which made me worried. I handed the phone to Tom. Tom is very close to his brother and often talks about how proud he is of him. Matt graduated from an Ivy League school, works at a top company, and is a really great guy. I don't understand why Tom is so proud of him, but I can see why he feels that way. Tom seemed excited to hear from Matt. "Hey, Matt, thanks for calling. What's up?" Until then, Tom had been watching TV with no expression, but now he was smiling. Still, I could tell from Matt's tone that something was wrong. As Tom listened to the call, his smile disappeared and his voice sounded worried. "Are you okay? What happened?" Tom listened for a moment, then said, "I understand. Don't push yourself too hard, and remember, you can always rely on me." Before hanging up, "What's wrong?" "Matt got fired." "What?" I froze. I knew his company wasn't doing great, but I never expected they would fire Matt. Tom sat down on the couch and sighed. "I can't believe it either. Matt is kind, good at his job, and he respects me." Once, at a family gathering, he even told Tom off for saying too many good things about me. He apologized to me afterward. Matt got married last year, and his wife seems lovely. They look like a beautiful couple, and I imagined they would have a warm, caring family. So, I was shocked to hear that Matt was suddenly let go due to company downsizing. "I'm really worried. Is there anything we can do?" I asked, feeling concerned. But Tom's face turned serious, and he snapped. "Huh? What exactly do you think you can do? Don't even try to get involved. You'll just make things worse." I was shocked. I never expected him to say something like that. It was too much, and I couldn't hold back. "Make things worse? What do you mean by that?" Tom's anger grew even more. "This has nothing to do with you. Stay out of it. You're just a housewife. What do you even know?" "Nothing to do with me? We're family. I'm your wife." I couldn't believe he thought that way. After that, Tom became even more aggressive toward me. "I envy you as a housewife. You don't have any work stress, and all you do is housework. But you should care more about your clothes. Matt's wife always looks stylish. Stop wasting money on clothes and makeup," he'd also say. Which is it? Does he want me to look good or not? I was getting more and more exhausted from his attacks. I used to be able to handle it because I respected him, but lately, it's gotten worse. If I said something wrong, or even if I didn't say anything at all, he was always irritated with me. We don't make eye contact anymore. We don't speak to each other at all. I started wondering why I even stayed married to this man. Then one day, something happened. It was unusual for Tom to be up so early on his day off. I wondered if he had plans, but when I saw him packing boxes and throwing things into a garbage bag, I got curious. We hadn't had much to talk about lately, so I didn't ask what he was doing. But then, he noticed me watching him and said, "Hey, will you help me with this?" I was surprised he was speaking to me. "Are you cleaning your room?" I asked. But his answer was something I didn't expect. "We're leaving this house." Huh? I didn't understand what he meant. "We're giving this place to Matt." What? What are you talking about? You can't just make decisions like that on your own. You can't complain to me like that. This is too much. Don't think you can threaten me and make things go the way you want. Where are we going to live if we give the house to Matt? We'll figure it out. Have you talked to him about this? I will. Just as I thought. He hadn't actually talked to Matt or his wife about this. I couldn't believe he'd try to make such a big decision without even checking with them first. "Shut up. You have no right to talk back to me. We're giving this house to my brother. If you don't agree, we're getting a divorce." At that moment, all the feelings I had left for Tom disappeared. "Okay, then, let's get a divorce." Tom looked surprised for a moment, but then said, "Okay, I'm serious, you know," and walked out. He came back soon, shouting, "Here are the divorce papers. Let's do it now." He threw the papers at me, and I signed them without saying a word. "Okay, I'll submit them." I went out to file the papers. When I got home, Tom was still packing his things. "It's done. I've submitted the papers." "Okay, now you pack your things too." I replied calmly, "What are you talking about? I'm not leaving." Tom looked furious. "What? Stop messing around and pack your stuff. I said we're giving this place to Matt." He didn't seem to get it, so I explained quietly, This house is in my name. It was originally my uncle's. What? You didn't forget, did you? I owned this house before we even got married. Tom's face turned pale when he realized what I meant. How are you going to give the house to Matt? It belongs to me. You never paid any property tax, did you? You act like it's your house. Now that we're divorced, you're the only one living here, I said. It seemed like Tom finally understood the situation. Wait, Sarah, I'm sorry, please, can you calm down? Excuse me, I'm completely calm, thank you very much. You're the one who should be calming down. If you think you own this place, did you feel like you owned everything just because you could order me around? I was grateful to you, and I respected you. You were there for me when I lost my uncle, and I relied on you at work, but now, you're just a husband who harasses me. Have you ever treated me properly? No, you treated me like I was just a housekeeper, and I can't take it anymore. I never want to see you again. I'm not giving this house to anyone, and you're the one leaving. You've packed your bags, so get out of my house right now. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. Tom is in shock and collapses onto the floor. After that, he rents a storage unit for his things and stays at a business hotel. Not long after, I hear he rented an apartment and started living there like nothing had happened. Since I still have some friends from work, they all found out about his behavior toward me during our marriage. No one trusts him anymore. He's having a tough time at work too, and he's been moved to a department with hardly any important tasks. About a year after the divorce, I'm walking home from the store when I'm stopped by Tom. I try to ignore him, but he keeps following me, saying hey over and over. I finally turn to face him, scared, and say, please stop following me. What do you want? He says something I never expected. It's all your fault. Excuse me? How my parents died and how my brother got fired. I don't understand what you're talking about. You jinxed us. You're the one who made all these bad things happen to me and my family. That's ridiculous. I have nothing to do with that. It's been one disaster after another since I married you. If I hadn't, I'd still be living happily. Oh really? What about you getting a promotion while we were married? That happened because of our marriage, right? And what about Matt marrying that lovely woman? That was also while we were together. I stay calm and respond. Just because your life isn't going well doesn't mean you can blame it on me. If you keep following me, I'll call the police. Tom drops his head and walks away. I file a restraining order against him and decide to call Matt. Matt answers and immediately apologizes for his brother. He explains that after our divorce, he was upset with Tom for trying to give the house to him without asking. He says he's been keeping his distance from Tom, as he felt Tom would cause trouble again. I realize Tom is upset because his brother distanced himself from him. That's his problem, not mine. Although Matt lost his job, his skills and experience helped him land a job as a general manager at another company, where he earns a higher salary than before. Hearing this, I know I didn't cause any bad luck for Tom's family. When I tell Matt about the restraining order, he says, I have no problem with that. It's the right thing to do. Now Tom is completely on his own, and it's all his fault. This has taught me how important it is to be kind and thoughtful to others in any relationship. I'm going to keep this lesson in mind as I move forward, being considerate to everyone I meet. It's unbelievable that Tom thought he owned the house. The way he treated me was unacceptable. No matter how good he was at his job, it was definitely the right decision to divorce him. I hope I find someone better in the future. Thanks for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.
I stared at the cream-colored envelope that someone had slipped under my door. My stomach doing that weird flip it does when you know something's not quite right. No name, no return address, just my apartment number written in precise, angular handwriting. My name is Tessa, and until this moment I'd been having what I thought was the best month of my life. My fitness blog had just hit 100,000 subscribers, my relationship with Nolan was getting serious, and I was finally going to meet his family this weekend. Well, officially meet them. But this letter changed everything. Inside was a single sheet of paper, the same precise handwriting. If you care about your future with Nolan, be careful around his mother. She's destroyed relationships before, and you're next on her list. Don't say you weren't warned. I read it 3 times, my hand shaking more with each pass. The paper felt expensive, the kind you'd find in a fancy stationery store. My phone buzzed, making me jump. Nolan's face lit up my screen. Hey beautiful, just checking in about Saturday, his warm voice filled my ear. Mom's really excited to meet you properly. I swallowed hard, crumpling the letter in my free hand. Yeah, about that. Please tell me you're not backing out, he said, that edge of anxiety creeping into his voice. You know how important this is to me. I glanced at the crumpled warning in my hand. No, I'm still coming. Just nervous, I guess. Don't be. They're going to love you. Well, Drew already does. He won't shut up about your workout videos. I forced a laugh, but my mind was racing. Drew, Nolan's younger brother, was the only family member I'd met so far. He'd seemed genuine friendly. Could he have sent this? Tess? You still there? Sorry, just thinking about what to wear, I lied. Your mom seems traditional. I want to make a good impression. There was a slight pause. Just be yourself. That's who I fell in love with. After we hung up, I smoothed out the letter and took a photo, sending it to my mom. Within minutes, my phone rang. Have you told Nolan? Mom asked, skipping hello. Not yet. I don't want to start drama before I even meet his family. Honey, this is drama. Someone's trying to warn you. Or mess with me, I countered, but my voice lacked conviction. Maybe it's just a prank. That paper is Crane and Company, I'd recognize it anywhere. That's not prank material, that's serious money. Mom had worked at a high-end paper store for years. Someone from their social circle sent this. I sank onto my couch, the reality of the situation hitting me. Mom, what do I do? You go to that dinner. You watch, you listen, and you trust your gut. But Tessa. Her voice got serious. Don't show your hand. If someone felt strongly enough to warn you, there's a reason. After we hung up, I pulled up the Fisher family photos Nolan had shown me. There was Meredith Fisher, his mother, elegant and poised in every shot. Her smile never quite reached her eyes, especially in the photos with Nolan's previous girlfriend. Come to think of it, I'd never heard why they broke up. My phone buzzed again, a text from Drew. Fair warning, Mom's planning to go full Martha Stewart on Saturday. Hope you're ready for the third degree about your internet career, grinning face with sweat. I started typing a response, then stopped. Was this his way of warning me too? I looked at the letter again, then at my phone. Everyone was trying to tell me something without really telling me anything. Well, game on, Meredith Fisher. If she wanted to play puppet master with her son's life, she was about to learn I wasn't the kind of girl who danced on anyone's strings. I just hoped I wasn't making a huge mistake by walking straight into whatever she had planned. The Fisher house loomed before me, all red brick and pristine white columns. I smoothed my dress for the 10th time, wishing I'd worn something less fitted. Next to me, Nolan squeezed my hand. Ready? He asked, reaching for the brass knocker. Before he could touch it, the door swung open. Meredith Fisher stood there, perfectly coiffed in a cream cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent. You must be Tessa, she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. We've heard so much about your internet activities. I felt Nolan tense beside me. Mom, Tessa's fitness channel has over 100,000 followers. She's built a real business. How fascinating, Meredith replied, stepping aside. Though I always thought personal training was more of a hobby than a career. The warning letter flashed through my mind as I followed them into a living room that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Everything was pristine, controlled just like Meredith. Drew appeared from the kitchen, grinning. Hey, the famous Tessa. Mom, did you know she was featured in Women's Health last month? Was she? Meredith's voice could have frozen water. I must have missed that issue. I prefer more traditional publications. Throughout dinner, every compliment came with a barb. My healthy eating tips were trendy fads. My business model was risky. Even my wine choice earned a raised eyebrow and a murmured, "How modern." So, Tessa, Meredith said as she served dessert, Nolan mentioned you grew up in Rochester? With just your mother. Yes, after my dad passed away. Oh, how difficult that must have been. Her sympathy dripped like poison honey. Although I suppose that explains your need to be so independent. Nolan suddenly became very interested in his creme brulee. Actually, I said, maintaining eye contact with Meredith, my mom taught me that independence isn't about being alone, it's about choosing your own path. Indeed. Meredith set down her spoon with a delicate clink. Though in my experience, family traditions provide a much more stable foundation than experimental lifestyle choices. Mom, Drew interrupted, didn't you say you wanted to show Tessa the garden? Of course. Meredith stood, gesturing for me to follow. Nolan, help your brother clear the table. In the moonlit garden, Meredith stopped by a rose bush. These have been in the Fisher family for generations. Spring, they bloom exactly as expected. No surprises, no disappointments. They're beautiful, I said carefully. But sometimes unexpected growth can create something even more spectacular. She turned to face me fully. Let me be clear, Tessa. My sons are my life. I've guided them, shaped them, protected them from unfortunate influences. I won't see that work undone by someone who thinks life is a series of Instagram stories. Mrs. Fisher. Please, she cut me off with a razor smile. Call me Meredith. We're practically family. For now. Back inside, I found Nolan in the kitchen. Your mother just threatened me. What? No, she wouldn't. She basically said I'm not good enough for you and won't last. Nolan ran a hand through his hair. That's not what she meant. Mom's just traditional. Give her time. Traditional. I laughed incredulously. Nolan, she's actively trying to undermine our relationship. You're being sensitive. She's making an effort. Like hell she is. My voice rose before I could stop it. Everything okay in here? Drew appeared in the doorway, concern etched on his face. Fine, Nolan said quickly. Tessa's just tired. We should probably head out. In the car, the silence was deafening. Finally, I spoke. You're not going to stand up to her, are you? There's nothing to stand up to. You don't understand our family dynamic. You're right, I cut him off. I don't understand how you can let her treat people this way. But I'm starting to understand why your last girlfriend left. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. That was different. Was it? I stared out the window, the anonymous letter's warning echoing in my head. Or was she just smart enough to get out before your mother destroyed everything? Nolan didn't answer, and I realized with crushing clarity that I was on my own in this battle. But Meredith Fisher had no idea who she was dealing with. If she wanted war, I'd give her one hell of a fight. Comments started appearing on my blog 3 days after the dinner. First, they seemed random criticisms about my form, questioning my credentials, suggesting my advice was dangerous for impressionable young women. But as I scrolled through them, a pattern emerged. A proper lady maintains dignity, not followers. Some traditions exist for a reason. Family values are more important than fleeting internet fame. Each comment echoed Meredith's words from dinner down to her exact phrasing. I was checking the IP addresses when my phone buzzed, Drew calling. Have you seen Mom's browser history? He asked without preamble. What? I borrowed her laptop to check email. She forgot to clear her history. Tessa, she's been watching every single one of your videos, reading every blog post. She's obsessed. My hands started shaking. The comments. Probably her. Listen, there's more. Remember Caroline, Nolan's ex? Mom did the same thing to her. Started with small criticisms, then escalated to contacting Caroline's employers with concerns about her character. Caroline quit her job and moved to Seattle. I sat down hard. Does Nolan know? He suspects, but Mom's good at playing victim. If anyone confronts her, She breaks down about how she's just trying to protect her family. A notification popped up on my laptop, another comment. Some people mistake attention seeking for success. Sad to see young women led astray by social media validation. Drew, she's going to try to destroy my business. I know. That's why I'm warning you. But be careful. If you confront her, she'll make you look like the aggressor. After we hung up, I pulled up my latest video. Comment section was flooded with new criticisms, all in that same proper cutting tone. My phone buzzed again. Nolan. Hey, can we talk? Mom's upset about something you posted? I laughed incredulously. You mean the dozens of nasty comments she's leaving on my content? What? No, she mentioned a video where you're apparently promoting unhealthy body standards. She's worried about your influence on young women. Are you serious right now? Your mother is actively trying to sabotage my career, and you're buying her concerned act? Look, maybe if you just talk to her. I did talk to her. She threatened me in her garden, remember? The garden you refused to believe she threatened me in? Silence on his end. Then she's just protective. Stop making excuses. I was shouting now. Your mother is systematically trying to destroy everything I've built, just like she did to Caroline. And you're letting her. Don't bring Caroline into this. Why not? Because it proves I'm right? Because you know exactly what your mother's capable of and you're too scared to stand up to her? The doorbell rang. Through my apartment's peephole, I saw Meredith Fisher herself, perfectly composed in another expensive sweater. Nolan, I have to go. Your mother's here. What? No, wait. I hung up and opened the door. Meredith smiled that razor smile. Tessa, dear, I thought we should have a chat about your recent content choices. You mean the content you've been obsessively commenting on? Her smile didn't waver. I'm simply expressing concern about the message you're sending. As Nolan's mother, you're terrified of losing control. That's what this is really about, isn't it? Something flickered in her eyes. Fear? Rage? You don't understand our family. No, I understand perfectly. You destroyed Caroline's career to keep control of Nolan. Now you're trying to do the same to me. But here's the difference. I stepped closer. I'm not Caroline. And if you want a war, I'll give you one. Are you threatening me? No, Meredith. I'm promising you that if you don't back off, I'll expose exactly who you are. To Nolan, to your precious social circle, to everyone. Her composure cracked just for a second. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Now get out of my apartment. After she left, my hands were shaking so bad I could barely text Drew. Your mother just showed up. Things just got real. His response came quickly. Check your email. There's something you need to see about Mom's past. I opened my laptop, my heart pounding. Whatever Drew had found, it was time to turn the tables on Meredith Fisher. I met Drew at a coffee shop across town, far from his mother's usual haunts. He looked exhausted, sliding a manila envelope across the table before I could even sit down. I found these in Mom's study, he said quietly. In a locked drawer behind her desk. Inside were newspaper clippings, yellowed with age. The headlines jumped out. Local woman missing after domestic dispute. Search continues for Margaret Fisher. Fisher family maintains silence on disappearance. Margaret Fisher? My hands trembled as I spread the clippings across the table. Our aunt. Mom's sister. Drew's voice dropped lower. The one nobody talks about. The articles painted a disturbing picture. 25 years ago, Margaret Fisher had vanished after a public argument with her family. Police investigated but found nothing. Case went cold. There's more, Drew said, pulling out a stack of letters. These are from Margaret to Mom, sent over the years. Mom kept them all but never responded. I scanned the letters. They were desperate pleas for reconciliation, each one more heartbreaking than the last. What happened between them? Drew glanced around the cafe before answering. Margaret fell in love with someone the family didn't approve of. A woman. Mom couldn't handle it. She threatened to expose Margaret to their social circle, their father's business partners. Back then, it would have ruined everything. So Margaret left? She chose freedom over family. Mom never forgave her for breaking ranks. Drew's hands clenched around his coffee cup. That's when Mom started, controlling everything. She was terrified Nolan and I would leave too. My phone buzzed, Nolan calling again. I declined it. Does he know about any of this? Drew shook his head. Mom told us Margaret died in an accident. I only found out the truth when I found these letters. That's why you've been helping me. The realization hit hard. You don't want history repeating itself. Mom's already destroyed one family. I won't let her destroy another. He pulled out one final letter, newer than the others. This came last week. Margaret's in Seattle now. She's been following your blog, saw you were dating Nolan. She wants to meet. My heart pounded. Does Meredith know? No, but... Drew's eyes widened, focusing on something behind me. Shit. I turned to see Meredith Fisher standing in the doorway of the cafe, her face white with fury. Our eyes met across the room. Drew, she said, her voice carrying clearly across the quiet space. What are you doing? Mom, are these my private papers? She approached our table, each step measured and precise. You broke into my study? You broke into my life, I shot back, standing to face her. Harassed me online, threatened my business. To protect my family. Her composure cracked. You have no idea what's at stake. I know about Margaret, I said quietly. Color drained from her face. You don't know anything. I know you drove your own sister away because you couldn't control her. Just like you did with Caroline. Just like you're trying to do with me. Mom, Drew stood too, Margaret's alive. She wants to talk. Enough. Meredith's hand slammed down on the letters. These are private family matters. Which makes them my business, Nolan's voice cut through the tension. We all turned to see him standing there, holding his phone. Drew called me before you arrived, Mom. I heard everything. The look on Meredith's face, shock, betrayal, fear, would have been satisfying if it wasn't so tragic. She grabbed for the letters, but I was faster, snatching them away. Your choice, Meredith, I said softly. We can all talk about this like adults, or these letters go public. Margaret's story, Caroline's story, everything. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I met her gaze steadily. But first, you need to tell Nolan the truth. All of it. Cafe had gone silent, other patrons pretending not to watch our family drama unfold. Meredith looked from me to her sons, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. Finally, she sank into a chair, her shoulders sagging. I was trying to protect you, she whispered. No, Mom, Nolan said firmly. You were trying to control us. And it stops now. The Seattle rain matched my mood as I waited outside the small cafe where Margaret Fisher had agreed to meet. After the confrontation with Meredith, everything felt raw, unfinished. Nolan hadn't spoken to his mother in days, and the silence was deafening. A woman approached, and I knew immediately it was Margaret. She had Meredith's elegant posture, but her eyes were kinder, less guarded. She wore a rainbow pin on her jacket, a small act of defiance that spoke volumes. You must be Tessa, she said, extending her hand. Thank you for meeting me. Inside over coffee, Margaret studied me carefully. You look shell-shocked. I remember that look. I used to see it in the mirror every morning before I left. Did you know about Caroline? I asked. The girlfriend before me? I followed the Fisher family drama from afar. Meredith's patterns are predictable. She pulled out her phone, showing me a social media profile. This is my partner, Helen. We've been together 23 years. Longer than Meredith's been pretending I'm dead. My phone buzzed, another text from Nolan. We need to talk about Mom. I ignored it. Why reach out now? Because history's repeating itself and I'm tired of watching from the sidelines. Margaret leaned forward. But also because you're different. You're fighting back. Not very successfully. You got my nephew to finally stand up to his mother. That's more than anyone's managed in decades. She paused. But there's something you should know about the night I left. Before she could continue, the cafe door chimed. Drew rushed in, looking panicked. Aunt Margaret? His voice cracked. Mom said you were dead. Margaret's composure wavered. Hello, Drew. You were so small when. Tessa, Drew cut in, Mom's at your apartment. She's threatening to call your fitness certification board with concerns about your methods. She's spiraling. My blood ran cold. She wouldn't. She already has the number pulled up. Says if you don't back off about Margaret, she'll destroy your career. Margaret's face hardened. Some things never change. When I left, she threatened to out me to every potential employer in the state. Did she follow through? I asked. No. 'Cause I left first. Disappeared completely. Margaret's eyes met mine. But running isn't the answer. It just gives her more power. My phone buzzed again, Nolan. Mom's losing it. Please call me. I need to stop her, I said, standing. Wait. Margaret grabbed my arm. There's something else you need to know. The night I left, Meredith didn't just threaten me. She threatened herself. Said she'd rather die than see the family name ruined. I thought she was manipulating me, but what? I found her with pills. That's why I left so suddenly. I couldn't bear the guilt if so I disappeared instead. Let her tell everyone I was dead. It was easier than facing the truth, that my sister would rather die than accept me. Drew sank into a chair, face pale. Mom tried to. She's not evil, Drew. She's broken. Terrified of losing control because she never dealt with almost losing everything. Margaret's voice softened. But enabling her fear isn't helping anyone. My phone lit up with a text from my mom. Meredith Fisher just called me. Says she's concerned about your mental health. What's going on? Pieces clicked together. Meredith wasn't just attacking my career, she was trying to discredit me completely. Make any accusations I made sound like the ravings of an unstable person. I have to go, I said, gathering my things. But first, Margaret, would you be willing to come with me? To see Meredith? After all these years, to save her from herself, and maybe save this family in the process. Margaret stared at her coffee cup for a long moment. The last time I saw my sister, she was willing to die to maintain her perfect facade. What makes you think this time will be different? I pulled out the anonymous warning letter that had started everything. Because someone in this family cared enough to warn me. Someone wants this cycle to end. Drew's eyes widened with recognition. The letter. Mom wrote it herself, didn't she? Part of her wants to be stopped. Margaret stood, straightening her jacket. Well then, let's go stop her. Together. As we left the cafe, I realized we were either about to heal this family or tear it apart completely. Either way, there was no turning back now. We found Meredith in my apartment, sitting primly on my couch like she owned it. The certification board's number glowed on her phone screen, her finger hovering over the call button. When she saw Margaret, she dropped the phone like it had burned her. No, she whispered. This isn't. You can't be here. Margaret stepped forward. Hello, Mir. Don't call me that. You lost that right when you abandoned this family. Like you abandoned me? Margaret's voice cracked. When you chose your reputation over your own sister? Meredith's hands started shaking. I was protecting us. You were protecting yourself, I cut in. Just like you're doing now. But look around, Meredith. Your perfect family? It's falling apart because of you, not me. You don't understand, she said, standing. None of you understand what I've sacrificed. We found the letter, Drew said quietly. The warning letter about yourself. You wanted someone to stop you, didn't you, Mom? Color drained from Meredith's face. I didn't. Yes, you did, Margaret moved closer. Just like that night with the pills. Part of you has always been screaming for help, Mir. I just didn't know how to hear it then. Suddenly, Nolan burst through the door. Mom, what are you? He froze, seeing Margaret. Who? Your aunt, I said softly. The one your mother erased. Meredith lunged for her phone. This ends now. I'm calling the board. I'm calling everyone. I'll tell them all what kind of person you really are, Tessa. How you turn my family against me. Mom, stop. Nolan grabbed for the phone, but Meredith jerked away. In the struggle, she stumbled, catching herself on my desk. Papers scattered, and something fell, the framed photo of my father and me taken just before he died. The glass shattered. Everything stopped. I stared at the broken frame, at my father's smiling face behind spider-webbed cracks. You know what's funny? My voice sounded distant, even to myself. I actually understood you, Meredith. Losing my dad made me understand why someone might be terrified of losing their family. Why they'd do anything to hold on. Tessa. Nolan started. But this. I gestured at the chaos around us. This isn't protecting family. It's destroying it. And I'm done. What do you mean, done? Nolan asked, fear creeping into his voice. I mean I'm done fighting. Done trying to prove myself worthy of your family. I picked up the broken frame. My father taught me that love shouldn't hurt like this. It shouldn't leave you broken. You're leaving. Meredith's voice held a note of triumph. Just like Margaret. Running away when things get hard. No, Meredith. I'm not running. I'm choosing peace. And if that means walking away from someone I love because his mother would rather destroy me than accept me. I looked at Nolan. Then that's what I have to do. Tessa, please! Nolan reached for me, but I stepped back. When your mother threatened your aunt's happiness, you lost a sister, I said to Meredith. When she threatened Caroline's career, you lost your son's trust. Now you're about to lose him completely. Is your control worth that much? Meredith sank onto the couch, her carefully constructed walls crumbling. I just wanted to keep your family close? Margaret finished. Look how well that worked. I grabbed my keys and jacket. I'll be at my mom's. You all figure out what kind of family you want to be. But I won't be your casualty in the process. Where are you going? Drew asked. To pick up the pieces of my life before your mother can destroy them completely. I paused at the door. You know what's ironic? That warning letter? It wasn't just a cry for help, Meredith. It was your last chance to choose love over fear. And you failed. Again. As I walked out, I heard Meredith start to cry deep, broken sobs that spoke of decades of pain. Part of me wanted to turn back, to help heal this broken family. But sometimes I realized walking away isn't giving up. Sometimes it's the only way to force people to face their own demons. I just hoped Nolan would understand someday why I had to go. 3 days after I walked out, Drew called. Mom's in the hospital. She took pills. The world tilted sideways. History repeating itself, just like Margaret had warned. I found myself running down sterile hospital corridors, the antiseptic smell burning my nose. Nolan stood outside the room, looking lost. She left this for you, he said, holding out an envelope. Inside was a yellowed letter dated 25 years ago. My dearest Meredith, it began. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. The shame of your father's gambling debts, the loss of our social standing. I can't bear it. Protect our family name. Never let anyone tear apart what remains of our legacy. Love, Mother. She found this after her mother's suicide, Nolan said quietly. The day before Margaret told her about Helen. Pieces clicked together: Meredith's obsession with control, her fear of scandal, her desperate need to maintain appearances. She'd been trying to prevent another family tragedy, but had nearly caused one instead. Margaret appeared from the room, eyes red. She's asking for you, Tessa. Me. Says she needs to show you something. Inside, Meredith looked small against the white sheets. On her lap lay a familiar cream-colored envelope, the warning letter I'd received months ago. I wrote it, she whispered. The morning after Nolan told me he was bringing you to dinner. I saw myself in you. Your independence, your strength. Everything I gave up to become what my mother wanted. Why warn me, then try to destroy me? Because you terrified me. Her hands trembled. You were everything I could have been if I'd been brave enough. Like Margaret was brave. I thought if I could break you, prove you were weak, you'd prove you made the right choice all those years ago? She nodded, tears falling. But watching you fight for your place in this family, watching you refuse to break, you showed me what real strength looks like. Not control. Not manipulation. Just truth. Mom, Nolan stepped forward. Why didn't you ever tell us about grandmother? About any of it? Because admitting it meant facing what I'd become. What I almost drove Margaret to. She reached for her sister's hand. What I almost did to myself. Twice. The pills, Margaret said softly. Both times you weren't trying to die. You were trying to feel something real. Meredith's facade cracked completely. I'm so tired of being perfect, of being strong, of being her. I moved to the bedside, taking her other hand. Then stop. Be yourself instead. I don't know how anymore. Yes, you do, I said firmly. You showed me when you wrote that warning letter. When part of you tried to save me from you. Can you ever forgive me? That depends. Can you forgive yourself? For Margaret? For Caroline? For everything you've done trying to be someone you're not? She looked at her sister, then her sons. I want to try. I want to be real again. Then let's start with the truth, I said, pulling out my phone. All those nasty comments on my blog? You're going to apologize. Publicly. Show everyone that Meredith Fisher isn't afraid of admitting her mistakes. A flash of the old fear crossed her face, but then, surprisingly, she laughed. You know what? That sounds liberating. Drew appeared in the doorway. The doctor says Mom can go home tomorrow. If someone stays with her. I will, Margaret said. We have 25 years to catch up on. Meredith squeezed my hand. I tried to break you because I was already broken. But you helped put this family back together instead. We're not fully fixed yet, I said, looking at Nolan. But maybe now we can try. For real this time. As I left the hospital that night, I realized sometimes the greatest act of revenge isn't destroying your enemy, it's helping them become who they were always meant to be. 6 months later, I stood in the Fisher garden, watching Margaret and Helen help Meredith plant new roses. Different varieties this time, wild, unpredictable blooms that would transform the precise rose into something more natural, more real. Still can't believe Mom's hosting Pride Brunch next month, Drew said, joining me. Helen's already planned the menu. People can surprise you. I smiled, remembering Meredith's public apology video on my blog. It had gone viral, sparking conversations about family acceptance and mental health that reached far beyond our little drama. Nolan appeared from the house, carrying the restored photo of my father. The frame was different now, less perfect, more interesting. Like us. Mom found this in the attic, he said, handing me a small box. Inside was a pressed rose and another letter, dated the day after I'd left the hospital. Dear Tessa, it read. I spent my life trying to be the perfect mother, following a script written by my own mother's fears. You showed me that real love doesn't follow a script. It adapts, grows, sometimes blooms in unexpected places. Thank you for helping me find my voice again. Love, Meredith. She wrote it that night, Nolan explained, but was too scared to send it. And now she's learning that scary things can be beautiful too. He took my hand. Like us. We'd taken things slow after the hospital, rebuilding trust one conversation at a time. It hadn't been easy, real things rarely are. But watching Meredith laugh as Helen taught her to deadhead roses, seeing the genuine joy in her face, made everything worth it. Caroline called last week, Drew mentioned casually. After she saw Mom's video, they talked for hours. Really? Mom apologized. Actually apologized, not just that passive-aggressive sorry not sorry thing she used to do. He grinned. Caroline's coming to Pride brunch too. Meredith approached, dirt on her designer gardening gloves, looking more alive than I'd ever seen her. Tessa, dear, would you help me with something? In her study, she opened the drawer that had once held Margaret's letters. Now it held something else, a stack of cards and letters from people who'd seen her video, sharing their own stories of family reconciliation. I answer each one, she said softly. It helps somehow. Knowing our mess of a family might help others find their way back to each other. It's not a mess anymore, I said. It's just real. Because of you. You could have destroyed me, exposed me. Instead, she touched the letters gently. You helped me destroy the person I was pretending to be. Best revenge ever, I teased. She laughed, a real laugh, not the polite society chuckle she'd once perfected. Indeed. Though I do miss my perfectly ordered rose garden sometimes. No, you don't. No, she agreed, smiling. I don't. Outside, Margaret and Helen were teaching Nolan some complicated dance steps on the lawn, while Drew recorded it all, probably for his new family history project. Not the sanitized version Meredith had once maintained, but the messy, beautiful truth. My phone buzzed, a comment notification on my latest blog post about family healing. From Caroline. Thank you for breaking the cycle. Some traditions deserve to die so new ones can bloom. I looked at Meredith, who was watching her family with tears in her eyes. Ready to go make fools of ourselves dancing? God, yes, she said, linking her arm through mine. It's about time I learned some new steps. As we joined the others on the lawn, I realized that sometimes the happy ending isn't about winning or losing, about revenge or forgiveness. Sometimes it's just about finding the courage to plant different roses and see what grows. And in the Fisher garden, everything was blooming wild and beautiful, just like us.
The dust motes dance in the afternoon light as I fold another cardigan and add it to Mum's drawer. 4 years of this routine, and I still can't bring myself to reorganize her closet. Every sweater, every scarf holds memories of who she was before the illness took over, before I became her full-time nurse at 18. My name is Harmony, and I gave up my spot at university to care for my dying mother. Not that I had much choice. My brother Carson was finding himself somewhere in Southeast Asia, and someone had to step up. The familiar beeping of medical equipment downstairs provides a steady rhythm to my movements as I continue organizing. Mum's sleeping now, finally peaceful after a rough morning. These quiet moments are when I allow myself to remember who I used to be. My hand brushes against a worn shoebox pushed to the back of the closet shelf. Inside, beneath old photos and birthday cards, I find it, my university acceptance letter. The paper is crisp, preserved like a pressed flower. Dear Ms. Whitney, we are pleased to offer you admission. The sharp buzz of my phone breaks the silence. Unknown international number. Heard Mum's sick. What's the plan for the house? My stomach drops. After 8 months of silence, this is what Carson leads with. Not, how is she? Or, I'm sorry I haven't called. The house, always about the assets with him. I'm still staring at the message when Zariah calls. My best friend has an uncanny ability to sense when I'm spiraling. How's she doing today? Zariah asks, her voice warm with genuine concern. Same as yesterday. Dr. Stevens adjusted her pain meds again. I sink onto the edge of my bed. Guess who just texted? No way. Carson? Bingo. Asking about the house, of all things. That entitled piece of... Zariah catches herself. What are you going to say? Nothing yet. I'm too angry to respond. I glance at the acceptance letter still in my hand. Remember when we were supposed to be roommates? Living the college dream? Hey, don't do that to yourself, Zariah says firmly. You made the choice you had to make. Did I? Sometimes I wonder if I'm just the family doormat, the reliable one, the one who, a crash from downstairs cuts me off. Mom, I call out, already running. I have to go, Z. I find Mom on the floor beside her bed, IV stand toppled next to her. I just wanted water, she whispers as I help her up. Her body feels lighter than ever, bird bones wrapped in paper-thin skin. You should have called me, I say, settling her back into bed. That's what the bell is for. She squeezes my hand weakly. You do too much already, sweetheart. That's what daughters are for, right? The words taste bitter, but I force a smile. No. Her voice is suddenly sharp, more alert than she's been in days. That's what family is for. All family. Her eyes meet mine, and for a moment I see a flash of the librarian she used to be, the woman who could silence a room with a look. Carson texted today, I tell her, adjusting her blankets, about the house. Something passes across her face. Not surprise, exactly. More like confirmation. Did he now? She reaches for her water glass with trembling hands. Help me sit up, dear. There's something we need to discuss. But before she can continue, a coughing fit takes over. By the time it passes, she's exhausted, drifting back to sleep. I watch her breathing even out, wondering what she wanted to tell me. My phone buzzes again. Another message from Carson. Should probably start thinking about arrangements. Realtor friend of mine specializes in quick sales. The rage I've been suppressing for years rises like bile. I type out and delete 3 different responses before settling on silence. Let him think I'm the same pushover I've always been. I return to Mum's closet, but instead of continuing to organize, I sit on the floor and finally open the envelope I've been avoiding. Inside is a letter I wrote to myself 4 years ago, the night I decided to stay. Dear future me, I hope you don't hate me for this choice, but Mom needs us. And maybe someday, someone will remember we were the one who stayed. A tear splashes onto the paper, smudging the ink. I fold it carefully and tuck it away with the acceptance letter, then pull out my phone and finally respond to Carson. Mum's still alive. Maybe visit her before planning the estate sale. I hit send and turn my phone off, knowing he won't reply. He never does. But for the first time in years, I don't feel like the powerless one. Mum wanted to tell me something about the house, and whatever it is, I have a feeling Carson won't like it. The medical equipment beeps steadily downstairs, marking time like a metronome. I close the closet door and head back to my duties, but something has shifted. The dust motes still dance in the light, but now they look less like decay and more like stars waiting to align. Mom died on a Tuesday. By Wednesday afternoon, Carson had materialized at the funeral home, designer sunglasses perched on his head, reeking of expensive cologne and fake grief. Such a tragedy. he said to everyone who would listen, as if he hadn't been absent for the entire illness. Mom meant everything to me. I stood in the corner of the funeral parlor, watching him work the room like a politician. Every head pat, every sympathetic nod made my skin crawl. Zariah kept a steady hand on my arm, grounding me. "Did you see his Instagram?" she whispered. "He was parasailing in Bali 3 days ago." "Of course he was." I smoothed my black dress, the only one I owned. "Watch this. He hasn't asked me a single question about her final days." Right on cue, Carson approached with a small group of relatives in tow. "Little sis," he said, pulling me into a hug I didn't want. "You look exhausted. Being a caregiver must have been challenging." It was. I stepped back. "She asked about you, near the end." His smile flickered for just a second. "I'm sure she understood I couldn't get away. My work in Asia was backpacking through hostels is work now." An awkward silence fell over the group. Carson recovered quickly, turning to our great-aunt Martha. "Speaking of work, I've been thinking about the house. It's far too big for one person, and the market is excellent right now." "The house?" I interrupted. "Mom's not even in the ground yet." "Just being practical, sis. Someone has to be." He patted my shoulder condescendingly. "You did what daughters are supposed to do. Now let Big Brother handle the business side." Zariah's grip on my arm tightened. I could feel her willing me not to cause a scene. "Mr. Sanders is handling everything," I said instead, referring to our family solicitor. "Mom made sure of that." "Remington?" Carson laughed. "That old fossil? We need someone more current." The repast was worse. Carson had somehow convinced everyone to gather at Mum's house, our house, and was giving tours like a real estate agent. "The kitchen was recently renovated," I heard him telling Cousin Rachel. "Great potential for an open concept if you take down this wall." I escaped to the kitchen, where Aunt Vivienne was arranging casseroles. She'd been distant from the family for years, but something had brought her back for the funeral. "Your brother's quite the performer," she said, eyeing Carson through the doorway. "He's always been good at playing whatever role gets him what he wants." Vivian paused, studying me. "Your mother wasn't as naive as he thinks." Before I could ask what she meant, Carson's voice carried from the living room. "I'm thinking we could list by next week. Clear everything out this weekend." "Like hell," I muttered, starting toward the door, but Vivienne caught my arm. "Wait," she said quietly. "Let him show his hand first." I forced myself to stay put, listening as Carson continued his sales pitch to the gathered relatives. "Of course, we'll keep the important family pieces. The rest can go to charity. Mom would have wanted that." "Actually," I called out, finally entering the room, "Mum was very specific about what she wanted. She left instructions. With old Remington, yes, you mentioned that." Carson waved dismissively. "But as the eldest, I think—" "You think what?" I stepped closer. "That 4 years of radio silence gives you the right to sweep in and take over? That your biology degree you never finished trumps Mom's actual wishes?" The room went silent. Even the casserole-bearing neighbors stopped their quiet conversations to watch. "Harmony," Carson said, his voice dangerously soft. "Maybe we should discuss this privately." "Why?" "You seem comfortable enough discussing the sale of our home with complete strangers." His perfect mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. But then he smiled, all charm again. "You're upset, I understand. Grief affects us all differently." "Don't you dare." "Everyone," he announced to the room. "My sister is obviously overwhelmed. Perhaps we should wrap things up for today." People began gathering their coats, murmuring sympathetically. At me, not for me. I stood frozen as Carson played the gracious host, thanking everyone for coming, promising to be in touch about the estate sale. After the last guest left, he turned to me. That was unnecessary. Get out. It's my house too, sis. He headed for the stairs. I'll take Mom's room. You can keep yours until we sort things out. I watched him climb the stairs, my nails digging crescents into my palms. Through the kitchen door, I caught Vivienne's eye. She gave me a small nod, then pulled out her phone and stepped outside. Later that night, I heard Carson on the phone. Yeah, we can do a viewing tomorrow. No, my sister won't be a problem. Just a matter of paperwork. I pulled out my own phone and texted Remington. When can we meet? It's about Mum's will. His response came immediately. First thing tomorrow. Your mother left very specific instructions about this situation. For the first time since the funeral, I smiled. I woke to the smell of coffee and voices downstairs. For a moment I forgot. Thought it was Mom talking to one of her nurses. Then reality crashed back in. Sign here, I heard Carson saying, and initial here. I threw on clothes and rushed downstairs to find Carson at the kitchen table with a man in a suit. Papers were spread everywhere, including over Mum's favorite placemat. Morning, sis? Carson's cheerfulness felt like sandpaper on my skin. This is Marcus from Capital Real Estate. We're just handling some preliminary paperwork. Preliminary paperwork for what? I grabbed the nearest document. Property transfer forms. Now don't get emotional, Carson said, reaching for the paper. This is just standard procedure. The house needs to be sold, and as co-owners... Co-owners? I pulled the form away from his grasp. Since when? Marcus cleared his throat uncomfortably. Perhaps I should give you siblings a moment. No, stay, Carson insisted. My sister's just being difficult. Show her the ownership documents. Marcus pulled out more papers. According to these records, both you and your brother are listed as inheriting the property jointly. That's impossible. My voice shook. Mom never said anything about... Because Mom knew you'd react like this. Carson stood, towering over me. Look, I'm trying to be nice about this. You have a week to pack your things and find somewhere else to live. That's generous. Generous? The word came out as a whisper. I spent 4 years taking care of her while you were off living your best life, and you think giving me a week to leave my home is generous? Your home? Carson laughed. This stopped being your home the moment you turned it into a hospital ward. Do you think anyone wants to buy a house that smells like death? Marcus stood abruptly. I should go. No, please, I said, finding my voice. I'd love to know how my brother got these documents showing joint ownership when our mother's will hasn't even been read yet. The realtor looked between us, realization dawning on his face. The will hasn't been... Mr. Whitney, you assured me all legal matters were settled. They will be, Carson said smoothly. It's just a formality. I'm calling Remington, I said, pulling out my phone. That won't be necessary. Carson snatched the phone from my hand. Stop making this harder than it needs to be. Tears burned in my eyes, not sad tears, but angry ones. Give me my phone. Or what? You'll cry about it. That's all you do lately, isn't it? Cry and play the victim. He tossed my phone onto the couch. Face it, Harmony. You're not equipped to handle this. Go back to your little caregiver life and let me handle the real decisions. Something snapped inside me. 4 years of suppressed rage bubbled to the surface. I grabbed Mum's favorite coffee mug, the one with World's Best Mom that Carson had sent as a guilt gift last Christmas, and hurled it at the wall. The crash silenced everyone. I'm calling the police, Marcus said, gathering his papers hastily. No need. I was eerily calm now. I'm going to see Remington Sanders right now, and when I come back, if there's a single paper signed or a single item moved, I'll have him file every legal complaint possible. You can't, Carson started. I can. Because unlike you, I was here. I know every medical bill, every insurance claim, every legal document Mom signed in the past 4 years. I know exactly what she wanted. I grabbed my phone from the couch. And I know she never said we were co-owners of anything. You're delusional, Carson spat. You spent so long playing nurse that you actually think you're special. Newsflash. You did what any daughter would do. Mr. Whitney, Marcus interrupted. I'm withdrawing my services. Call me when you have proper documentation of ownership. He practically ran from the house. I turned to follow him out, but Carson grabbed my arm. Where do you think you're going? To see Remington. I yanked free. And when I get back, you better be gone. Or what? Or I'll show everyone the texts you sent Mom when she begged you to come home. The ones where you said her cancer was inconvenient for your travel plans. His face went white. You're bluffing. Try me. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Carson? Mom saw right through you, right to the end. I drove to Remington's office with shaking hands, tears finally falling freely. When his secretary showed me in, he took one look at my face and sighed. He's trying to sell the house, isn't he? I nodded, wiping my eyes. Your mother left very specific instructions, Remington said, pulling out a thick file. I think you'll want to sit down for this. Before we discuss the will, Remington said, adjusting his glasses, there's something you should know. Your mother came to see me 6 months ago when her condition worsened. He slid a DVD across his desk. She recorded this message, said it was for when the storm comes. My throat tightened. That sounds like Mom, always speaking in metaphors. She was quite lucid that day, he continued, particularly about Carson. A memory surfaced. Mom sitting in her garden 3 months ago, surprisingly alert during one of her good days. Come sit with me, sweetheart, she'd said, patting the bench beside her. Tell me about your dreams. Mom, we don't need to. Humor your dying mother. Her smile was gentle but firm. What would you be doing right now if things were different? I'd told her about the university plans, the creative writing program, the life I'd put on hold. She'd listened intently, her fingers tracing patterns on her blanket. You've always had the soul of a lighthouse, sweetheart, she'd said finally. Don't let the fog steal your light. Back in Remington's office, I blinked away tears. Can we watch it? He nodded, inserting the DVD into his computer. Mom's face appeared on the screen, gaunt but composed, her librarian's reading glasses perched on her nose. My dearest Harmony, she began, if you're watching this, then Carson has done exactly what I feared he would. He's trying to take the house, isn't he? I gasped. Even Remington looked impressed. Your brother has always been predictable in his selfishness, Mom continued. But you, my darling girl, you've been my lighthouse in the dark. You sacrificed everything without complaint, and I've been preparing for this moment. She held up a stack of papers. These are the real property documents. The house was transferred solely to my name after your father died. I never added Carson's name to anything, despite his creative attempts to convince me otherwise. Another memory hit me, finding Mom in tears one night, clutching her phone. When I'd asked what was wrong, she'd quickly composed herself. Just your brother being your brother, she'd said. Now I wondered what messages I'd missed. There's a safe in my closet, Mum continued on screen. Behind the blue hat box. The combination is your birthday. Inside, you'll find everything you need. Bank statements, medical records, and particularly interesting text messages I've saved. My hands clenched into fists. She'd been building a case all along. But most importantly, Mum leaned closer to the camera, you'll find a key. It opens a safety deposit box at First National. Don't tell Carson about any of this. Wait for the will reading. Trust Remington. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is simply letting someone reveal their true nature. The screen went dark. Remington cleared his throat. The will reading is scheduled for next week. Until then, I suggest you find that safe. What about Carson's ownership claims? Completely fabricated. I have all the original documents here. He patted the thick file. Your brother has no legal right to sell anything. I stood, feeling stronger than I had in days. Thank you, Remington, for everything. One more thing, he called as I reached the door. Your Aunt Vivian. She knows more than she's letting on. Your mother made her a backup executor for a reason. I drove home slowly, processing everything. When I arrived, Carson's rental car was gone, but Aunt Vivian sat on the porch swing. Productive meeting? She asked, eyebrow raised. Very. I sat beside her. Mom made you backup executor. Smart woman, your mother. Vivian pulled something from her purse, a small key ring. Found these in her bedside drawer. There's a note attached. The note read, "For the day after the storm." She knew, I whispered. She knew exactly what Carson would do. Of course she did. She was his mother too. Vivian's voice held a hint of steel. She watched him take advantage of people his whole life. But she also watched you grow into someone stronger than he could ever be. Why didn't she tell me any of this? Because you needed to focus on being her daughter, not her defender. Vivian stood. The storm's here now, though, and you're ready for it. I turned the keys over in my hand. Will you help me look for a safe in Mom's closet? Thought you'd never ask, she smiled. Let's see what other surprises your mother left us. As we climbed the stairs, I remembered Mom's words from the video. Sometimes the best revenge is letting someone reveal their true nature. Carson had shown his. Now it was time to show mine. The safe contained exactly what Mom promised, and more. Bank statements showing suspicious withdrawals from Carson's old authorized user account. Screenshots of texts where he'd demanded money for his spiritual journey. And most damning, a letter he'd written threatening to contest any will that didn't give him the house. That manipulative little... Vivian stopped herself, shuffling through the papers. No wonder your mother was so prepared. A loud bang downstairs made us both jump. Carson's voice boomed through the house. Where are you hiding, sis? Perfect timing, I muttered, quickly returning everything to the safe except one folder. Stay here. I found Carson in the living room with two burly men in moving company uniforms. They were lifting Mum's antique writing desk. What are you doing? I demanded. Clearing out some valuable pieces before they get damaged. Carson didn't even look at me. To the truck, guys. Put it down, I said firmly. The movers hesitated. Keep moving, Carson ordered. I pulled out my phone. Remington? Yes, he's here with movers, taking Mum's things. I paused. Yes, I'll tell them. Carson finally turned to me. Playing tattletale? No, just informing them that they're participating in theft. I addressed the movers directly. This property has no legal sale or transfer authorization. Everything you remove can be reported as stolen. The men carefully set down the desk. She's lying, Carson snapped. I have paperwork. Forged paperwork, I interrupted, opening the folder I'd brought downstairs. Want to explain these bank statements? Or these texts to Mom? His face went from red to white. Where did you get those? Mom kept everything, Carson. Every manipulative message. Every threat. I turned to the movers. I suggest you leave before this becomes a legal issue. They didn't need telling twice. Carson watched helplessly as they walked out. You think you're so clever, he snarled once we were alone. Playing the devoted daughter while secretly building a case against me? No, that was Mom. I was too busy actually taking care of her to plot anything. I held up his threatening letter, but she saw you coming a mile away. Give me those papers. He lunged forward, but Vivian appeared at the top of the stairs. I wouldn't, she called down. Those are copies anyway. Originals are quite safe with Remington. Carson's mask of control cracked completely. You're both insane. This is my house too. I deserve— What exactly do you deserve? I stepped closer. The inheritance you tried to manipulate out of our dying mother? The house you never helped maintain? Tell me, what exactly did you do to deserve anything? I was building a life, following my dreams. Someone had to make something of themselves instead of playing nurse. Playing nurse? My voice was ice. I cleaned her wounds. I held her hair back during chemo. I read to her when her eyes were too weak to focus. Where were you when she cried asking for her son? Don't try to guilt me. Guilt you? No, Carson. I'm done trying to make you feel anything. You're incapable of it. I walked to the front door and opened it. Get out. You can't. I can and I am. The will reading is next week. Until then, stay away from this house and everything in it. He stood there, fists clenched. This isn't over. Actually, it is. Vivian came down the stairs, phone in hand. Unless you want these texts to your mother shared with the entire family. The ones where you called her illness an inconvenience. Carson grabbed his jacket and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. He'll be back, Vivian warned. I know. I sank onto the couch. But now we're ready. My phone buzzed. Zariah, how'd the safe hunting go? Found everything and more, I texted back. Mom was always 10 steps ahead. That's our librarian, she replied. Want me to come over? I bring wine and revenge plotting skills. I smiled, then noticed an envelope that had fallen from the folder during Carson's grab attempt. It was labeled, "Not to be opened unless Carson threatens eviction." Actually, I texted Zariah, "Can you come now? There's something else we need to see." Vivian peered at the envelope. Your mother certainly had a flair for dramatic timing. She was a librarian, I said, carefully opening the seal. She knew every story needs proper pacing. Inside was a single photograph. Mom and Carson at the bank, dated 2 years ago. She was signing something while he stood smugly beside her. On the back, Mom had written, "The day your brother thought he won. The day I changed everything." I showed it to Vivian, who smiled slowly. Oh, this is going to be good. Remington's office felt smaller with all of us crammed inside. Carson sat near the window, scrolling through his phone with affected disinterest. Vivian perched beside me, her hand occasionally squeezing my arm in silent support. Zariah had insisted on coming too, positioning herself strategically between me and my brother. Shall we begin? Remington adjusted his glasses, pulling out a thick envelope. Finally. Carson straightened up. Let's get this over with so we can move forward with the sale. Remington cleared his throat. Before I read the will, there's a video message your mother requested we watch first. Another one? Carson rolled his eyes. How many dramatic recordings did she make? Just these 2. Remington pressed play on his computer. This one's for both of you. Mom appeared on screen, looking stronger than in her final days. She was sitting in her favorite armchair, wearing the blue cardigan I'd helped her pick out last Christmas. My dear children, she began, if you're watching this, I'm gone. Carson, I assume you're already planning what to do with the house. And Harmony, you're probably worried about your future. You both take after your father in different ways. He too was always planning ahead. Carson smirked at me. I kept my face neutral. 2 years ago, Mum continued, Carson came to me with some papers to sign. He thought I was too weak, too medicated to understand what they were, but I knew exactly what I was signing, and what I wasn't signing. The smirk fell from Carson's face. You see, while Carson was showing me property transfer documents with one hand, I was signing my actual will with the other. A will that reflects not just my wishes, but the truth of the past 4 years. This is ridiculous, Carson interrupted. She was clearly not in her right mind. Actually, Remington paused the video. I have her medical records from that day, showing she was completely lucid. Shall I continue? Carson slumped back, his face darkening. Now, to the matter of my estate, Mum went on. To my son Carson, I leave the following. An itemized bill for $25,000, representing the money you borrowed for your travels. This amount will be donated in your name to the local women's shelter, where I volunteered before my illness. Consider it your first and only contribution to caring for others. She can't do that, Carson shot to his feet. She can and did, Remington said calmly. Please sit down. To my daughter Harmony, Mum continued, her voice softening. I leave the house and all its contents, plus my entire financial estate, to be used first for your education and then for whatever dreams you put on hold for me. You were my lighthouse in the darkest storm, and now it's your turn to shine. Tears rolled down my cheeks. Zariah squeezed my hand. Additionally, Mom added, I've left documentation proving Carson attempted to fraudulently obtain property rights. Whether to pursue legal action is up to Harmony. The video ended. Carson stood again, face contorted with rage. This is all your fault, he shouted at me. You turned her against me. You manipulated her while she was sick. That's quite enough, Remington interrupted, pulling out another DVD. Your mother anticipated this reaction too. This was recorded the same day, with myself and 2 witnesses present. The final video played. Mum looked directly into the camera, her librarian's steel showing through. Carson, if you're yelling right now, blaming your sister, let me be clear. I saw everything. Every ignored call, every bounced check, every attempt to secure your inheritance before I was even gone. I wasn't confused or manipulated. I was watching, and I made my choice with clear eyes and a clearer conscience. Silence fell over the room. Carson grabbed his jacket. You'll be hearing from my lawyer, he spat. Actually, Remington picked up another document. Your mother included a contest clause. Any legal challenge to the will results in your portion being doubled, meaning the shelter would receive $50,000 in your name instead of $25,000. Carson froze, hand on the doorknob. Face it, brother, I said quietly. Mom outplayed you. She knew you better than you knew yourself. He yanked the door open. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Vivian called after him. Your mother made sure of that. After he left, Remington handed me a set of keys. The house is officially yours. Your mother also left this. It was a university application, filled out in Mum's careful handwriting. On top was a post-it note. Time to leave the lighthouse and become the light. Love, Mum. I hugged the paper to my chest, feeling lighter than I had in years. Mum had given me more than just the house. She'd given me back my future. Well, Zariah grinned. I guess we're going to be roommates after all. For the first time since Mom died, I laughed. It felt like breaking free. The women's shelter director couldn't stop smiling as she held the check. $25,000. This will help so many families. My mother would have wanted that, I said, watching her pin the donation certificate on the wall. In memory of Denise, donated by Carson, stood out in bold letters. Your brother must be very generous, she said. Oh, you have no idea. Vivian's voice dripped with sarcasm as she examined the wall of donors. After leaving the shelter, we drove to the bank to clear out Carson's old room. He'd tried coming by the house twice more, each time leaving with less dignity than before. The final time, he'd arrived with a police officer, only to have Remington show up with all the documentation proving my ownership. Ready? Vivian asked as we pulled into the driveway. I nodded, clutching the box of trash bags. More than ready. Carson's room was exactly as he'd left it years ago, a shrine to his teenage self. sports trophies he'd bought online to impress girls, guitar he'd never learned to play, photos of him in various exotic locations, always alone, always posing. "Look at this," Vivian called from his closet. She held up a shoebox full of cash. "Tagged Mom's emergency fund but never sent. Add it to the shelter donation," I said, stuffing old clothes into a bag. "Might as well make it an even 30,000. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You think you've won? Wait till the family finds out how you trapped Mom into changing her will. He's trying to rally the relatives." I showed Vivienne the message. "Perfect timing, actually." She pulled an envelope from her purse. "Your mother left this with me. Said to open it if Carson tried turning the family against you." Inside were dozens of screenshots. Years of conversations between Mom and various family members. Carson asking each for money, making promises he never kept. Mom gently warning them, trying to protect them from his schemes. "She documented everything," I whispered. "Your mother was a librarian," Vivian smiled. "Documentation was her superpower." I snapped photos of the screenshots and created a family group chat, excluding Carson. "Since there are questions about Mom's will, here's some context she wanted you to have." Responses flooded in immediately. "He told me he needed bail money. Said he was starting a charity. Borrowed $5,000 for a sure thing investment." "Well," Vivian said, reading over my shoulder, "I'd say that backfired on him spectacularly." We finished clearing the room in silence. Everything valuable went to charity. Everything personal into storage. As I packed the last box, something caught my eye. A small book wedged behind the radiator. It was Mom's diary from 15 years ago. I opened it randomly. Carson took money from my purse again. Says he needs it more than I do. Harmony offered me her birthday money to cover the bills. My children are teaching me the difference between taking and giving. "You should read this." I handed it to Vivian. She skimmed a few pages, her expression softening. She knew, all along she knew exactly who both of you were. My phone buzzed again. "Carson. The family too. Should have known you'd play dirty." "The truth isn't dirty," I texted back. "It just is. I'm still their golden boy. Watch how fast they forget when I need something." I thought about responding, but instead just blocked his number. Mom's voice echoed in my head. "Sometimes the best revenge is letting someone reveal their true nature." Vivian helped me carry the last boxes downstairs. In the living room, Mum's writing desk sat where it had always been, where Carson had tried to steal it. On it lay my university acceptance letter, the one I'd kept all these years. "You know," Vivian said, following my gaze, "the spring semester starts in January." "I know." I ran my hand along the desk's smooth surface. "Mom already filled out my application." "Of course she did." Vivian laughed. "She probably chose your classes too, actually." I pulled out the application. There, in Mom's neat handwriting, were course recommendations: creative writing, psychology, family law. She really did think of everything. "She was preparing you," Vivian said softly, "not just for university, but for life after Carson's inevitable implosion." I looked around the room, at the space that was now truly mine, at the future Mom had protected for me, at the peace she'd orchestrated even after she was gone. "You know what's funny?" I said, putting the acceptance letter in my pocket. "This doesn't even feel like revenge anymore. It feels like justice." Vivian nodded. "That's exactly what your mother intended." Outside, the moving truck Carson had sent away empty weeks ago drove past, now full of donations for the shelter. Everything comes full circle, I thought, even karma. The autumn wind scattered leaves across Mom's grave as I placed her favorite flowers, yellow daisies, against the headstone. My university acceptance letter was tucked in my jacket pocket, already creased from reading it so many times. "I got in, Mom," I whispered, brushing leaves from her name. Full scholarship, just like you planned. She'd be proud, Zariah said, standing a few steps back. Actually, she'd probably say, I told you so. I laughed. She absolutely would. My phone buzzed. A text from Vivienne. Check your email, now. I pulled it up to find a forwarded message from the women's shelter. They'd named their new wing after Mum, and the first family had just moved in. The attached photo showed a young mother and daughter standing in front of a plaque that read, The Denise Reading Room, a safe space to begin again. Look at this, I showed Zariah. Mum's still helping people. Speaking of helping people... Zariah nodded toward the cemetery entrance. A familiar figure stood there, uncertain. Carson. He looked different. Cheaper clothes, no designer sunglasses. The past month hadn't been kind to him since the family learned the truth. Want me to tell him to leave? Zariah offered. No. I stood up. Mom would want me to hear him out. He approached slowly, carrying something wrapped in brown paper. I found this while cleaning out my apartment. Thought Mom would want you to have it. He handed me the package. Inside was an old photo album I'd never seen before. Mom made it, he said quietly. Before she got sick. It's all pictures of you. School plays, science fairs, stuff like that. She used to show it to me when I'd visit, telling me how proud she was. You mean the 2 times you visited in 4 years? He flinched. I deserve that. I deserve all of it. He looked at the headstone. The shelter called. About the extra $5,000 you donated in my name. Mom's emergency fund. Seemed fitting. Yeah. He shifted uncomfortably. Listen, I know I can't fix what I did, but I'm seeing someone now. A therapist. Trying to understand why I... He trailed off. Why you what? Abandoned us? Tried to steal Mom's house? Treated her illness like an inconvenience? All of it. His voice cracked. I keep thinking about that video she made. How she saw everything, knew everything, and still just waited. Let me show who I really was. That's who Mom was, I said. A quiet observer who saw right through people's stories to their truth. I miss her, he whispered. I didn't think I would, but I do. You missed her when she was alive too. You just didn't know it yet. He nodded, tears finally breaking through his facade. The family's right to freeze me out. I earned that. But I was hoping... maybe someday... Someday is a long way off, Carson. I know. He turned to leave, then stopped. The university acceptance. When do you start? January. Creative writing program. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Mom always said you had stories in you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. Here. It's not much, but maybe it'll help with books or something. Inside was a check for $3,000. I sold my Rolex, he explained. Seemed like time to grow up. I studied him for a moment. The shelter's always looking for volunteers. Yeah? Hope flickered in his eyes. Start there. Show, don't tell. That's what they teach writers. He nodded and walked away. Zariah came to stand beside me. You're not going to tear up that check? No. I tucked it into my pocket with the acceptance letter. Mom would want me to give him a chance to change. A small one. You're nicer than I would be. Not nice, I said. Just finally seeing clearly. Mom was right. Revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about letting them face who they really are. I opened the photo album Carson had brought. On the first page, Mom had written, My lighthouse keeper, finding light in the darkest places. Ready to go? Zariah asked. We've got that campus tour this afternoon. Almost. I pulled out my acceptance letter and placed it against Mom's headstone, weighing it down with a small stone. Thank you, I whispered. For everything. The autumn wind picked up again, scattering more leaves across the cemetery. But this time, they didn't look like decay. They looked like pages turning, starting a new chapter. Okay, I said, standing up. Now I'm ready. Sometimes karma doesn't knock. It walks in holding your mother's hand. And sometimes healing doesn't come from revenge, but from finally letting go of the lighthouse and becoming the light itself.
The tile floor is cold against my cheek and somewhere above me. Jake sighs with the kind of irritation usually reserved for delayed flights or burnt toast. Not, I think bitterly, for his pregnant wife sprawled across our kitchen floor. I'm Nova, and this isn't how I pictured sharing my pregnancy news with my husband. You really need to stop being so dramatic, Jake says, his voice floating down from what seems like miles away. I have a meeting in 20 minutes. The room spins as I try to push myself up. My fingers slip against the smooth tiles, and the morning sickness hits again, harder this time. I barely make it to my knees before retching into the sink. Jesus Christ, Nova. Jake's footsteps retreat. I'll be late. Don't leave, I manage between heaves. Please. I need to tell you something. The footsteps pause. I hear him adjusting his tie, that expensive silk one his mother gave him last Christmas. Can it wait? I have the Thompson project presentation today. I grip the counter, pulling myself upright. The world tilts dangerously, but I force myself to turn and face him. I'm pregnant. Jake's face goes blank, like someone hit pause on a video. His hand freezes mid-tie adjustment. What? 8 weeks, I say. I found out yesterday. He blinks rapidly, his jaw working. Are you sure? 3 tests and a doctor's appointment, sure. Jake's eyes dart around the kitchen, landing anywhere but on me. He checks his watch. Look, we'll talk about this tonight. I really can't be late for this meeting. Tonight? My voice cracks. Jake, I just told you we're having a baby. And that's big news. He grabs his briefcase from the counter. But Maya's been working on this presentation for weeks, and if I'm not there to support her. Maya, something cold settles in my stomach, heavier than morning sickness. Your new coworker, Maya? Project partner, he corrects automatically. Listen, we'll figure this out later, okay? Take some ginger ale or something. Before I can respond, he's gone. The front door closes with a decisive click that echoes through our suddenly too large house. I slide back down to the floor, pressing my forehead against the cabinet door. My phone buzzes. A text from Helen, Jake's mother. Lunch today? We need to discuss the country club membership. I close my eyes, remembering how she cornered me at last week's family dinner. When are you two finally giving me grandchildren? She demanded. Jake's not getting any younger. My hand drifts to my still flat stomach. Neither am I'd replied, forcing a smile while Jake pretended to be fascinated by his phone. The irony would be funny if I wasn't sitting here alone, trying not to throw up again. I text Helen back, can't today. Not feeling well. Her response is immediate. You're always not feeling well lately. Jake works so hard. He deserves a wife who can keep up with social obligations. Something snaps inside me. Maybe it's the hormones, or maybe it's the way Jake looked right through me as he rushed to support Maya. Or maybe it's just that I'm tired of pretending everything's fine when it's so clearly not. I grab my phone and pull up Jake's calendar, the one he thinks I don't know how to access. There it is. Thompson project meeting, 9:30 a.m. But there's another entry, hidden in his personal calendar. Lunch, 1 p.m. My hands shake as I screenshot the entry. The nausea returns, but this time it has nothing to do with morning sickness. You're right, Helen, I text back. Jake does work very hard. Especially with his new project partner, Maya. Maybe we should all have lunch together sometime? I hit send before I can change my mind, then block her number. Standing up slowly, I steady myself against the counter and look around our pristine kitchen. With its matching appliances and coordinated color scheme, everything perfectly in place, just like Jake likes it. Well, almost everything. 3 weeks have passed, and Jake's chair sits empty at dinner again. His excuses pile up like the takeout containers in our trash, late meetings, client emergencies, networking events. Tonight it's drinks with potential investors, though his calendar still shows that mysterious M entry. I push my untouched pasta around the plate, fighting another wave of nausea. The smell of garlic, once my favorite, now makes my stomach roll. My phone lights up with a text from Helen. Jake tells me you've been difficult about the country club events. This isn't how we do things in this family. The fork clatters against porcelain. I delete the message without responding, but another follows. I'm coming over tomorrow. We need to talk about your priorities. The front door opens just as I'm dumping my dinner in the trash. Jake's cologne hits me first, different from his usual scent, sweeter somehow. More feminine. You're home early, I say, not turning around. Meeting wrapped up faster than expected. His voice is careful, measured. Mother called. She's worried about you. Fascinating. I start loading the dishwasher, each plate a controlled slam. Did she mention I'm carrying her grandchild, or just my apparent failure as a society wife? Jake sighs. Nova, don't start. I'm tired. Tired. I spin around, a water glass clutched too tightly in my hand. You want to talk about tired? Try growing a human while your husband. The words die in my throat. There's a smudge of red on his collar, lipstick, badly wiped away. My fingers go numb, and the glass slips, shattering at my feet. Don't move, Jake says, stepping forward. You'll cut yourself. Stay back. My voice sounds strange, distant. I've got it. You're being ridiculous. Let me help. Like you helped at my first ultrasound appointment? The words come out sharp as the glass around my feet. Oh, wait. You had that emergency meeting with Maya. His face tightens. The Thompson project is crucial for my career. Is that what we're calling it now? What's that supposed to mean? I laugh, and it sounds all wrong. Your mother's coming over tomorrow. Should I tell her about the lipstick on your collar, or would you prefer to explain it yourself? Jake's hand flies to his neck, then drops. Something cold and calculating crosses his face. You're hormonal. Imagining things. This pregnancy is clearly affecting your judgment. Don't. My hands shake as I reach for the broom. Don't you dare try to gaslight me. I'm not. His phone buzzes, and he glances at it reflexively. His expression softens for a fraction of a second before he catches himself. Is that another emergency meeting? I ask quietly. Client follow-up. He backs toward the door. I need to take this. Of course you do. He pauses in the doorway. We'll talk tomorrow after you've calmed down. Mother will help you see reason. The door closes behind him, and I'm alone with the broken glass again. My phone pings, another message from Helen. Jake says you're becoming unstable. We need to discuss medication options. Slowly, deliberately, I open my laptop and pull up the tracking app one installed on Jake's phone last week. The moves steadily across the map, not toward his office, but toward the expensive apartment complex where Maya lives. I open a new document and start typing. Day 21 of surveillance. Subject left house at 9:47 p.m. after gaslighting attempt. Current location. I add screenshots of his location, the calendar entries, photos of the lipstick stain. My hand drifts to my stomach where our child grows, unaware of their father's betrayal. I'm sorry, I whisper, but I promise you won't grow up watching your mother be made a fool of. The tracking dot stops moving. I check the address and add it to my growing file of evidence. Tomorrow, Helen wants to discuss my priorities? Perfect. I'll have plenty to discuss with her too. I close the laptop and start sweeping up the broken glass, each shard a promise of what's to come. They want to paint me as unstable? Fine. Let them. They have no idea what I'm capable of when I'm thinking clearly. And right now, my mind has never been clearer. Jake's car key feels heavy in my palm as I stand in our garage at dawn. He's still asleep upstairs, dead to the world after coming home at 3 a.m., reeking of whiskey and perfume. The same perfume that's been clinging to his clothes for weeks now. I shouldn't be doing this. The rational part of my brain screams to walk away, but my feet carry me to his pristine BMW anyway. My hands shake as I unlock it, sliding into the driver's seat that still holds the impression of his body. The center console yields nothing but receipts and breath mints. The glove compartment contains only maintenance records and insurance papers. I'm about to give up when I notice the slight gap under the passenger seat. My fingers brush against something hard, a phone. Older model, no password protection. The screen lights up, revealing dozens of messages from M. Miss you already. Last night was incredible. When can you get away again? Each message burns like acid in my throat. But it's the photos that break me. Jake and Maya at restaurants I've never been to, at concerts he claimed he was too busy to attend with me. Her head on his shoulder, his hand on her waist. Both of them laughing at some private joke while I've been home battling morning sickness alone. The garage door rumbles to life. I freeze, clutching the phone. Jake appears in the doorway, his face shifting from confusion to rage as he spots me in his car. What the hell are you doing? Research, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. For the Thompson project. Fascinating stuff. He crosses the garage in 3 strides. Give me the phone. Why? Afraid Helen might see these lovely dinner dates? Or maybe your boss would be interested in how you've been spending those late nights at the office. You're making a mistake. His voice drops dangerously low. Think about what you're doing. I have been. For weeks. I hold up the phone. While you've been thinking about Maya. He lunges for the phone, but I'm faster. Don't, I warn. I've already backed everything up. You're hysterical, he spits. This is exactly why I needed. He stops himself, but the damage is done. Needed what, Jake? Someone who isn't pregnant and inconvenient. This isn't you, he says, switching tactics. The hormones are making you paranoid. Let me help you. I laugh, and it sounds like breaking glass. Help me? Like you helped Maya climb the corporate ladder? On her back, apparently. His hand shoots out, grabbing my wrist. The phone clatters to the floor. You're embarrassing yourself. No, I wrench away, I'm exposing you. Think carefully about your next move, he says quietly. Who do you think they'll believe? The successful executive or his unstable, hormonal wife? That's why you've been laying the groundwork with Helen, isn't it? Painting me as unhinged. The pieces click into place. How long have you been planning this? He doesn't answer, but his silence says everything. You know what's funny? I retrieve the phone, my hands steady now. I actually thought this baby would bring us closer. Instead, it just showed me who you really are. Nova. Save it. I head for the door, then pause. Oh, and Jake? Maya's not the only one who knows how to document things. Check your email. I just sent you some interesting screenshots. I think Helen and your boss might find them enlightening. The color drains from his face. You wouldn't dare. The old Nova wouldn't, I agree. But you killed her. Congratulations on creating something much worse. I leave him standing in the garage, staring at his phone as messages start flooding in. Helen's name flashes on his screen, followed by his boss's. My hand rests on my stomach as I walk away, feeling stronger with each step. They wanted to paint me as unstable? Fine. But they forgot one crucial detail: a mother protecting her child is capable of anything. And I'm just getting started. The doctor's voice fades into white noise as I stare at the ultrasound monitor. Bed rest, she's saying. Your blood pressure is dangerously high. You need to stop working immediately. My hand tightens around the prescription she's trying to give me. I can't afford to stop working. She frowns, glancing at my empty ring finger. I stopped wearing Jake's ring last week. Is there someone who can help support you during this time? The irony makes me laugh, but it comes out as more of a sob. Yesterday, Jake drained our joint account. For legal preparations, his email said. Given your recent unstable behavior. I'll figure something out, I tell her, but my voice sounds hollow even to me. Back home, I find Jake waiting in the kitchen. He's wearing his court suit, the one that costs more than 3 months of my salary. We need to talk about your leave of absence, he says, not looking up from his phone. The company's concerned about the project timeline. The company or Maya? His jaw tightens. I'm trying to be reasonable here. You can't just stop working and expect. The doctor says I have to. Convenient timing. He finally looks at me, his expression calculated. Right after you tried to blackmail me. Blackmail? I grip the counter as the room sways slightly. You mean exposing your affair? The board sees it differently. His smile is cold. They're very concerned about workplace harassment. Maya's quite upset about your accusations. The pieces click into place. You're having me fired. You're being offered a generous severance package. Contingent on signing an NDA, of course. My legs give out, and I sink into a chair. I'm carrying your child. Allegedly. He slides a document across the table. We'll need a paternity test. The room goes very quiet. I can hear the clock ticking, marking seconds that feel like years. You know it's yours. Do I? Given your emotional state lately. He shrugs. My lawyer suggests we explore all possibilities. Your lawyer. My voice sounds strange, distant. The one you hired with our savings? I had to protect myself. He stands, straightening his tie. The severance papers need to be signed by Friday. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. As he turns to leave, I notice something fall from his pocket, a receipt. I wait until he's gone before picking it up. It's from a jewelry store, dated yesterday. The amount makes my head spin. My phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. It's a photo of Maya, wearing a diamond ring that matches the receipt's description. Below it, a message, thought you should know. He's not just leaving you, he's replacing you. The contact information shows it's from someone in Jake's office. Seems I'm not the only one he's made enemies of. My laptop sits on the counter, still open to our banking records. A notification pops up, another transfer from our joint account to his private one. The bastard's not just trying to leave me, he's trying to leave me destitute. The baby kicks, as if sensing my distress. I press a hand to my stomach, feeling the movement that reminds me what I'm fighting for. It's okay, I whisper, but I'm not sure who I'm trying to convince. We're okay. My phone buzzes again. This time it's my mother, your father, and I just got a concerning call from Helen. What's going on? I stare at the message, then at the severance papers. Then at the receipt that proves Jake's already planning his new life while systematically destroying mine. The baby kicks again, stronger this time. Right. This isn't just about me anymore. I reach for my phone, but instead of calling my mother, I dial a different number, the forensic accountant whose card I've been carrying since I first suspected Jake's affair. Hello, I say, my voice steady for the first time today. I need help tracking some suspicious financial transactions. How soon can we meet? The forensic accountant's findings sit heavy in my lap as I wait in Helen's pristine living room. The numbers blur together. Offshore accounts, hidden assets, systematic financial abuse spanning our entire marriage. Jake hasn't just been planning to leave me, he's been preparing for years. Helen sweeps in, perfectly coiffed as always. Nova, dear, you look dreadful. Have you been taking those anxiety medications Jake mentioned? Actually, I start to respond, but the room suddenly tilts. Black spots dance across my vision. Nova? Helen's voice shifts from condescending to concerned. Nova. I wake up in the hospital, the steady beep of monitors marking time. Helen sits beside me, her makeup smeared, something I've never seen before. Your blood pressure bottomed out, she says quietly. The baby, my hands fly to my stomach, is stable. For now. She picks up my chart, squinting through designer frames. But they're concerned about preeclampsia. Nova, why didn't you tell anyone how bad things were? I laugh, but it comes out as a sob. I tried. You told me I was being dramatic. She flinches. I thought. Jake said. Jake says a lot of things. I pull the accountant's report from my bag. Like how he's been funneling money into secret accounts since before our wedding. Helen's hands shake as she reads. Her face grows paler with each page. This can't be right. My son wouldn't. Check the transfers to Maya Thompson. My voice sounds distant, clinical. They started 6 months ago, right when I got pregnant. She flips pages frantically until she finds it. Her sharp intake of breath tells me she's seen the engagement ring purchase. I'm going to be sick, she whispers. That's how I felt when the door opens, cutting me off. Jake strides in, Maya trailing behind him. They freeze at the sight of Helen. Mother, Jake recovers quickly. You shouldn't be here. Nova's been making wild accusations. About the money you've been hiding? Helen's voice could freeze hell. Or about your pregnant mistress? Maya's hand flies to her stomach. The gesture is unconscious, instinctive, and damning. The monitors start beeping faster as the pieces click into place. You're pregnant. Jake steps forward, all smooth concern. Nova, you need to calm down. Don't you dare. Helen rises, a lioness protecting her cub. How long? 3 months, Maya whispers. The timeline hits me like a physical blow. He got her pregnant while I was battling morning sickness, while I was trying to save our marriage. Get out. Helen's voice trembles with rage. Both of you. Mother, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. She holds up the financial report. I understand you're not just a cheater, but a thief. I understand you've been systematically destroying your wife while building a life with her. The monitors shriek as my vision blurs again. Nova. Helen's voice seems to come from very far away. I need help in here. Medical staff flood the room. Through the chaos, I see Jake being forcibly removed, his protests lost in the commotion. The last thing I hear before consciousness fades is Helen's voice, steel sharp and certain. Call my lawyer. Now. I surface briefly, catching fragments of conversation. Emergency C-section if her pressure doesn't stabilize. Restraining order against the husband. Financial forensics team. Helen's hand grips mine. I was wrong about everything, she whispers. But I'm here now. We're going to destroy him, Nova. For both our grandchildren. The monitors steady as I process her words. Jake didn't just betray me. He betrayed his mother, his unborn child, his entire family legacy. And Helen, with her social connections and financial power, has just become my most powerful ally. I squeeze her hand back, letting her feel my response. We don't need words anymore. We both understand what needs to be done. The game has changed. This isn't just about revenge anymore, it's about justice. And with Helen Adams on my side, Jake is about to learn exactly what it means to lose everything. The house feels different when Helen and I return from the hospital. Maybe it's the way Jake's left dirty dishes everywhere, or how his and Maya's clothes litter our bedroom floor. He's been living like a bachelor while I fought for our baby's life. Don't touch anything, Helen says, photographing each room. The lawyers need to see how he's treated the marital home. I nod, one hand on my still swollen belly. The doctors managed to stabilize us both, but one wrong move could send me back to the hospital. Or worse. The front door opens. Jake stumbles in, reeking of expensive scotch. He freezes when he sees us. You're not supposed to be here, he slurs. The restraining order applies to you, not us. Helen's voice could cut glass. This is still Nova's legal residence. He laughs, ugly and sharp. Not for long. Maya's already picked out new curtains. My legs threaten to give out, but I force myself to stand straight. Where's the nursery furniture? Sold it. He shrugs. Maya wanted different stuff for our baby. The room spins. Helen grabs my arm, steadying me. You sold. I can't finish the sentence. Along with your grandmother's jewelry. He smirks. Should have kept better track of your things, Nova. Helen's grip tightens. Those were family heirlooms. We're being the operative word. Jake loosens his tie. Like this marriage. Past tense. The court might see it differently, Helen says, once they review the financial records. Something shifts in Jake's eyes, a flash of fear quickly masked by anger. You really want to play this game? I can make things very difficult. More difficult than trying to kill your child? The words escape before I can stop them. He steps forward, menacing. Careful, Nova. Stress isn't good for your condition, remember. Are you threatening her? Helen moves between us. Just stating facts. His smile turns cruel. Like the fact that Maya's pregnancy is progressing perfectly. No complications. No drama. Maybe the problem isn't the stress, Nova. Maybe it's just you. The baby kicks hard, as if protesting. I press a hand to my side, and Jake's eyes follow the movement. Don't worry, he says softly. Once the paternity test proves that child isn't mine, you won't have to pretend anymore. We both know it's yours, I whisper. Do we? He pulls out his phone. Because I have some interesting security footage from the office. You and that IT guy working late. He lets the implication hang. That's a lie. Truth is whatever I can prove in court. He shows us the screen, doctored footage of me with a male colleague. Amazing what money can buy these days. My knees buckle. Helen catches me as Jake continues, the board already thinks you're unstable. Add infidelity charges and well, who would believe anything you say about our finances? You bastard, Helen hisses. Careful, mother. You're one signature away from losing your position on the family trust. Sure you want to pick sides. The room goes quiet except for the sound of my ragged breathing. Jake moves toward the stairs, then pauses. Oh, and Nova? Maya's wearing your grandmother's sapphire ring. Looks better on her anyway. He disappears upstairs, leaving us in the wreckage of what was once my life. Helen's hands shake as she helps me to a chair. He's thought of everything, I whisper. Not everything. Helen pulls out her phone, stopping the recording. He just confessed to selling stolen property and fabricating evidence. While drunk. I stare at her, hope warring with despair. Will it be enough? Alone? No. She squeezes my hand. But combined with what else we have? It's a start. Upstairs, we hear Jake talking, presumably to Maya. Planning their perfect future while systematically destroying mine. I can't lose this baby, I say. I can't lose everything. You won't. Helen's voice hardens with resolve. Because we're going to take everything from him first. The baby kicks again, stronger this time. Like a signal. Like a promise. The boardroom falls silent as I walk in, Helen at my side. Jake's face drains of color when he sees us. Maya, sitting beside him, touches her stomach protectively, a gesture that might have sparked sympathy in me once. Not anymore. This is a closed meeting, Jake says, but his voice wavers. Helen smiles, razor sharp. As major shareholders, we have every right to be here. The board members shift uncomfortably. Jake's boss, Richard, clears his throat. Mrs. Adams, given the circumstances. The circumstances, I interrupt, placing a USB drive on the table, are exactly why we're here. Jake lunges for the drive, but Helen's already connected it to the projector. The screen fills with financial records, transfers, hidden accounts, falsified expense reports. What is this? Richard demands. Evidence of systematic embezzlement, Helen says. Using company resources to fund a personal lifestyle, including gifts for certain employees. Her eyes cut to Maya's ring, my grandmother's sapphire glinting accusingly. Maya's hand drops to her lap. Jake stands, desperate. These documents are clearly fabricated. Nova's unstable. Like the security footage you doctored? I play his drunken confession through my phone. The room goes deadly quiet. You recorded me illegally, he snarls. Actually, Helen produces a document. As co-owner of the residence, Nova had every right to record conversations in her home. Unlike someone who falsified company records. Richard's face darkens as he reviews the evidence. Jake, is this true? Of course not. This is a vindictive attack by my pregnant ex. Soon-to-be ex, I correct. And I'm not the only one who's pregnant, am I, Maya? Maya pales. Several board members gasp. That's irrelevant, Jake snaps. Is it? Helen pulls out another document. Because according to company policy, relationships between supervisors and direct reports must be disclosed. Especially when said supervisor is authorizing bonuses and promotions. Maya stands abruptly. I need to. Sit down, Jake hisses, grabbing her arm. Don't touch me. She jerks away. You said this would never come out. You promised. Maya, he warns, but she's unraveling. You said you'd handle everything. The money, the promotion, the baby, she stops, horror dawning on her face. The baby? Richard's voice could freeze hell. The position we just promoted you to is meant for someone who's taking maternity leave? Jake's mask finally cracks. I can explain. Like you explained the missing nursery furniture? I ask quietly. Or my grandmother's jewelry. Or the trust fund you drained. You bitch, he lunges toward me, but security's already moving. I wouldn't, Helen says coldly. Assaulting a pregnant woman in front of witnesses? Even your lawyer couldn't spin that. The boardroom erupts into chaos. Maya's sobbing, security's restraining Jake, board members are shouting. Through it all, I remained standing, one hand on my stomach, watching my husband's carefully constructed world implode. This isn't over. Jake spits as security escorts him out. Actually, it is. Richard turns to Maya. Miss Thompson, please stay. We need to discuss your position. Everyone else, clear the room. As people file out, I catch Jake's eye one last time. The hatred there would have broken me once. Now it feels like vindication. Nova, Maya calls suddenly. I'm sorry. I didn't know. About the jewelry, the nursery. He said you didn't want them. I touch my grandmother's ring on her finger. Keep it. Consider it a reminder of what happens when you build your happiness on someone else's pain. Outside, Helen squeezes my hand. You did it. We did it, I correct. But it's not over yet. No, she agrees. The criminal charges are next. Then the divorce. I watch through the glass as Maya crumbles under Richard's questioning while security escorts Jake from the building. His perfect life, dismantled in under an hour. The baby kicks, stronger than ever. For the first time in months, I smile. Let's go home, I tell Helen. The real home, not the one he destroyed. As we leave, I delete Jake's number from my phone. Some things don't need an encore performance. The envelope arrives on the same day my son does. I'm still in the delivery room, Helen holding my hand, when the nurse brings in the registered letter along with the birth certificate forms. Mrs. Adams, she says, a courier insisted this was urgent. The return address shows Jake's lawyer's firm. My hands shake as I open it, but not from fear, not anymore. Inside is a single sheet of paper and a key. The letter is handwritten, Jake's precise script now unsteady. I found this in my father's study. Maybe now I understand why he left. The key belongs to a safety deposit box. Helen's eyes widen in recognition. That's your grandmother's key, she whispers. The one Jake claimed he lost. My son stirs in his bassinet, and something clicks into place. Can you check what's in it? Helen returns an hour later, holding a familiar velvet box. Inside, my grandmother's jewelry collection gleams, every piece Jake claimed he'd sold. There's more, Helen says, placing a worn journal beside me. Your grandmother's diary. Jake's father. He tried to steal these 2 years ago. That's why he disappeared. The baby fusses, and I lift him, studying his tiny features. He has Jake's eyes, but they're softer somehow. Kinder. He was trying to tell me something, I realize. About patterns. About fathers and sons. Helen takes the diary. Should I read it? No. I touch my son's cheek. Some cycles need to end. The nurse returns with the birth certificate forms. Have you chosen a name? I look at my son, at the jewelry that represents generations of strong women, at Helen who helped me break free. James, I say finally. But not after his father. After my grandmother, Jamie. Helen's breath catches. Nova. He'll know where he comes from, I say firmly. But he'll write his own story. A commotion outside interrupts us. Jake's voice carries through the door. I have a right to see my son. Security arrives before he reaches us, but not before I glimpse his face through the window, haunted, desperate. For a moment, I see his father in him, the same pattern playing out again. Should I call the police? Helen asks. I look down at James, peaceful despite the chaos. No, let him go. After everything he did? That's why. I adjust James's blanket. I won't let anger shape my son's world the way it shaped Jake's. Later, when the hospital quiets, I read Jake's letter again. Between the lines, I see a different story, not just of betrayal and revenge, but of broken men trying to outrun their father's shadows. Helen helps me pack the jewelry away, but I keep one piece out, a simple silver locket. Inside, I place a tiny photo of James next to the faded picture of my grandmother. What will you tell him? Helen asks. About Jake. The truth, I say. That his father lost his way. That patterns can be broken. That he's free to be better. A nurse brings in release papers and a second letter, this one from Maya. I set it aside, unopened. Some chapters don't need an ending. James stirs, reaching up with perfect tiny fingers. I let him grasp my thumb, marveling at his strength, his possibility. Ready to go home? Helen asks. Home. Not the house Jake and I shared, but my parents' beach cottage where the air smells of salt and new beginnings. Yes, I say and mean it. I tuck Jake's letter into the diary, a reminder not of what I lost, but what I refused to become. The revenge I thought I wanted has transformed into something else, not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. James sleeps against my chest as we leave, his heart beating its own rhythm, writing its own story. In the end, that's the greatest revenge of all, not destruction, but creation. Not continuing the cycle, but breaking free. We step into the sunlight, my son and I, leaving the shadows behind. I never meant to find that letter. If I hadn't been looking for Dad's old marketing portfolio for my school project, I might have gone on believing we were still a normal family. But there it was, tucked into the bottom drawer of his home office desk, perfumed and pristine in its cream-colored envelope. My name's Quinn, and this is the story of how my father's secrets tore our family apart. I remember standing there, frozen in place, as my eyes scanned the flowing handwriting. The words seemed to burn themselves into my brain. My dearest Miles, these past months have been heaven. Once you leave her, we can finally start our life together. The letter slipped from my trembling fingers. My stomach lurched as I caught a whiff of that sickly sweet perfume again. The same scent I'd noticed on Dad's jacket last week when he came home late from another business meeting. Mom was downstairs in the kitchen, humming while she prepared dinner. The sound drifted up through the heating vent, making everything feel surreal. She had no idea.
How could she not know?
I picked up the letter again, forcing myself to read more. The woman's name was Delilah. She worked at Dad's company, or used to, before he lost his job 3 months ago. The job loss he'd been so vague about, always changing the subject when Mom asked for details. The front door clicked open downstairs. I'm home, Dad's voice called out. Panic shot through me. I shoved the letter back into its envelope, but my hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. As I stuffed it into the drawer, I heard his footsteps on the stairs. Quinn? You up here, sweetie? I slammed the drawer shut just as he appeared in the doorway. Hey, Dad. My voice cracked. He frowned, looking around his office. Everything okay? Yeah, I gestured vaguely at his bookshelf. Looking for your old work samples. For my marketing project. Oh, right. He relaxed, walking over to a different shelf. They're up here. But honestly, they're pretty outdated now. Maybe we should look online for better examples. I watched him pull down a folder, acting so normal, like he hadn't just destroyed everything. Like he wasn't planning to leave us for some woman named Delilah. Thanks, I managed taking the folder. I should go start my homework. Dinner's almost ready, he called after me as I fled to my room. Your mom's making that pasta you love. I closed my door and sank onto my bed, clutching the folder to my chest. Mom's pasta. The recipe she'd perfected because it was Dad's favorite. The one she made every Friday night because it was our family tradition. My phone buzzed, a text from my cousin Jasper asking if I was coming to his basketball game tomorrow. Such a normal question on such an abnormal day. I couldn't even think about responding. Through my window, I could see Aunt Celeste's house next door. Mom's sister had always been there for us, especially after Dad lost his job. Now I wondered if she knew anything. If anyone knew. Mom called up the stairs. Quinn, dinner's ready. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, trying to compose myself. How was I supposed to sit across from him at dinner? How could I eat Mom's pasta and pretend everything was fine when I knew he was planning to destroy her world? The smell of garlic bread wafted up the stairs. Mom called again, more insistent this time. Coming, I shouted back, my voice steadier than I felt. I stood up, straightening my shoulders. One thing was certain, I couldn't let Mom find out like this, stumbling across a letter by accident. She deserved better. But first, I needed proof. Real proof, not just a love letter that Dad could explain away. I had no idea then how much worse things would get, or how finding that letter would change everything. But as I headed downstairs to our last normal family dinner, I made myself a promise. I would protect Mom, no matter what it took. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. I watched Mom and Dad dance around each other like everything was normal, but the weight of what I knew made it hard to breathe. Then came Sunday morning and I made the mistake that changed everything. I'd left my phone on the kitchen counter while helping Mom with breakfast. Dad was supposedly at the gym, but when Mom picked up my buzzing phone, thinking it was hers, her whole body went still. "Quinn," she said, her voice strange. "Why is Delilah Harrison texting you about meeting your father?" My stomach dropped. I'd been tracking Dad's movements through his old work contacts, trying to gather evidence. Delilah must have figured out I was his daughter. The words stuck in my throat as Mom's face went from confused to devastated. She'd already read the whole message. "Looking forward to seeing Miles again tonight. Hope you understand why he needs to keep this private for now." Mom's hand shook as she read the words aloud. "Quinn, what is this?" The front door opened. Dad walked in, still in his gym clothes, whistling. The sound died when he saw us. "Evelyn, what's wrong?" Mom held up my phone. "Why is your former coworker texting our daughter about secret meetings?" The color drained from Dad's face. He glanced at me, and I saw the moment he realized I knew. Had known. "It's not what you think," he started, but Mom cut him off. "Don't." Her voice was ice. "I found the credit card statements last week. The hotel charges." I wanted to believe there was another explanation, but she turned to me. "How long have you known?" 3 days, I whispered. "I found a letter in his office. I was trying to get proof before I told you." Dad stepped forward. "Evelyn, please. We can talk about this." "Talk." Mom laughed, but it sounded wrong. "Like you talked to me about losing your job? Or was that a lie too?" "I was going to tell you everything," Dad said. "I just needed time to figure things out." "Figure what out?" "How to leave us." Mom's voice cracked. "How long have you been seeing her, Miles?" The silence that followed was answer enough. "Mom," I reached for her, but she pulled away. "I need you to go to Aunt Celeste's," she said, not looking at me. "Right now." "But, Quinn." Her tone left no room for argument. "Please." I grabbed my phone and ran next door, tears blurring my vision. Aunt Celeste opened the door before I could knock. "I heard raised voices," she said, pulling me into a hug. "What happened?" Through the window, we could see Mom and Dad's shadows moving in the kitchen. Their voices carried across the yard, getting louder. "She knows," I choked out, "about Dad and Delilah. And now she knows I knew and didn't tell her." Aunt Celeste's arms tightened around me. "Oh, sweetheart. You were trying to protect her." I made it worse. I buried my face in her shoulder. "If I hadn't been snooping." "No," she said firmly. "Your father made his choices. This isn't your fault." A door slammed. Through the window, we watched Dad storm out to his car. Mom appeared on the front porch. "Evelyn," he shouted, "don't do this. I want you out." Mom's voice carried clearly across the yard. "Today. And don't you dare try to blame Quinn for your lies." Dad's car roared to life. As he peeled out of the driveway, I caught a glimpse of his face. He wasn't looking at Mom on the porch. He was looking at me in Aunt Celeste's window. "I should go back," I said, pulling away from Aunt Celeste. "Mom needs me." She caught my arm. "Give her a minute. This isn't just about the affair anymore. Finding out you knew, even for a few days. She needs time to process everything." I watched Mom sink down onto the porch steps, her head in her hands. The morning sun caught her wedding ring, sending little sparkles of light across the yard. By sunset, she'd taken it off. I didn't know then that this was just the beginning. That Dad's secrets went deeper than any of us suspected. Or that Mom's determination to protect me would end up costing her everything. 2 weeks after Dad moved out, he showed up at our door with flowers and an apology. I watched from the stairs as Mom let him in, her face unreadable. That same morning, she'd been throwing up in the bathroom, claiming it was just a stomach bug. "I've ended things with Delilah," Dad said, his voice carrying up the stairwell. "I made a terrible mistake, Evelyn. I want to come home." Mom's laugh was hollow. "Now? After I found out you lost your job because you couldn't keep it professional with your coworker? I leaned forward, my heart pounding. This was new information. That's not exactly, Dad started. Save it, Miles. Celeste told me everything. The complaints to HR, the scandal, how you both got fired. Mom's voice hardened. Were you ever going to tell me the truth? The silence that followed was deafening. I crept down a few more stairs, needing to see their faces. I was ashamed, Dad finally said. I knew I'd disappointed you, and then things with Delilah just happened. Just happened. Mom pressed her fingers to her temples. For 8 months. Evelyn, please. I'll do anything. Counseling, whatever you want. He reached for her hand, but she stepped back. We can't throw away 20 years of marriage. I have to tell you something, Mom said quietly. She swayed slightly, steadying herself against the wall. I'm sick, Miles. My breath caught. The stomach bug suddenly took on a different meaning. What do you mean, sick? Dad's voice changed, genuine concern breaking through his practiced contrition. I found out yesterday. Mom's voice cracked. It's cancer. Stage 3. The flowers slipped from Dad's hands, scattering across the floor. I must have made a sound because they both looked up, finally noticing me on the stairs. Quinn, Mom said softly. I was going to tell you tonight. I ran down the rest of the stairs, throwing my arms around her. She felt smaller somehow, more fragile, though nothing had visibly changed. We'll fight this, Dad said, moving closer.
Together.
As a family. Mom stiffened in my arms.
No, Miles.
You don't get to sweep back in and play the devoted husband now. But you need me, he insisted. Both of you do. Like we needed you when you were spending our savings on hotel rooms with Delilah? The words burst out of me before I could stop them. Dad flinched. Quinn, that's not fair. Fair. I pulled away from Mom, facing him. You want to talk about fair? Mom's sick, and you're only here because your girlfriend dumped you. That's not true, he protested, but his eyes shifted away. Quinn. Mom touched my shoulder. Go upstairs, sweetheart. But, please. The look in her eyes stopped my argument cold. She was protecting me again. Even now. I retreated halfway up the stairs, just out of sight. Their voices carried clearly. I meant what I said, Miles. I want a divorce. Evelyn, you're upset.
You're sick.
This isn't the time for major decisions. Actually, it's exactly the time. Mom's voice strengthened. I need to focus on getting better, not wondering where my husband really is when he says he's at work. I'll prove to you both that I've changed, Dad insisted. Just give me another chance. Through the banister, I saw Mom pick up one of the scattered flowers. You know what's funny? These are the same flowers you bought Delilah. I saw the credit card statement. Dad's face crumpled. I didn't. I wasn't thinking. No, you weren't. Mom opened the front door. Goodbye, Miles. After he left, I found Mom in the kitchen, gripping the counter so hard her knuckles were white. When she saw me, she tried to smile. I'm sorry you had to find out like this, she whispered. I hugged her again, feeling her tears soak into my shoulder. We don't need him, Mom. We'll fight this together. What I didn't say was that I'd already seen the text on Dad's phone when he set it down earlier. Delilah hadn't dumped him. He was meeting her for dinner tonight. Some things I was learning were better left unsaid. The chemotherapy was supposed to make Mom better. Instead, I watched her fade a little more each day, while Dad's promises to help remained just that, promises. 3 months into her treatment, I was juggling school, hospital visits, and running our household alone. I found the unpaid bills one morning while Mom slept. They were stacked neatly on her desk, each one stamped with red warnings. Dad's child support checks had stopped coming 2 months ago. You shouldn't be looking at those, Aunt Celeste said from the doorway, making me jump. Someone has to. I held up the hospital bill. Did you know Dad canceled Mom's insurance when he left? Celeste's face darkened. Your mother didn't want you to worry. Well, I'm worried now. I dropped into Mom's desk chair. How are we paying for her treatments? We're handling it, she said, but wouldn't meet my eyes. Are you and Uncle Ronan? Quinn. She cut me off. Focus on school. Let the adults handle this. But that night, I overheard them arguing in the kitchen while I was supposed to be doing homework. She needs to know, Evelyn, Celeste said. Quinn's not a child anymore. She's 17. Mom's voice was weaker than I remembered. She shouldn't have to deal with this. She's already dealing with it. And Miles is making things difficult, Mom finished. I know, but the house is almost paid off. Once I sign it over to Quinn. If you wait that long, Celeste said softly. The silence that followed made my chest hurt. My phone buzzed a text from Dad. Missing you, sweetie. Dinner soon? I stared at the message, anger building. He hadn't even asked about Mom's last treatment. Hadn't visited once since she started chemo. Instead of replying, I opened my laptop and started searching. Property records, legal documents, anything I could find about house transfers and medical bills. If the adults wouldn't tell me everything, I'd figure it out myself. That's how I discovered Dad had taken out a second mortgage on our house 3 months before Mom caught him cheating. The money was gone, along with most of their savings. A knock at my door made me quickly close the browser. Come in. It was Jasper, holding 2 mugs of hot chocolate. Mom sent me to check on you. I took one of the mugs, grateful for the distraction. How much do they tell you? Enough. He sat on my bed. Dad's been working extra shifts at the garage. Mom thinks I don't notice, but they think they're protecting us by keeping secrets. Jasper nodded. Like how Aunt Evelyn's doctor wanted to try that new treatment, but what new treatment? I sat up straighter. He paled. I shouldn't have said anything. Jasper. There's this clinical trial, he said reluctantly, but it's expensive and the insurance won't cover experimental treatments. The next morning, I skipped first period and went to Dad's apartment. He answered the door in a bathrobe, looking surprised.
Quinn.
I was just about to. Save it. I pushed past him into the apartment. I need money for Mom's treatment. His face fell. Honey, things are tight right now. With the job situation. You mean with paying for Delilah's new car? I gestured to the paperwork on his coffee table. Or the trips to Vegas? He quickly gathered the papers. You shouldn't be looking at my personal business. Like you shouldn't have stolen Mom's future? My voice cracked. The second mortgage, Dad? Really? It's complicated, he started, but I cut him off. Mom's dying. The words hung in the air between us. She needs this clinical trial, and you're buying gifts for your girlfriend with money that should be paying for her treatment. His silence told me everything I needed to know. Fine. I turned to leave. I'll remember this when Mom's gone and you want to play happy family again. Quinn, wait. But I was already gone, my mind racing with new plans. If Dad wouldn't help, I'd find another way. Mom had always protected me. Now it was my turn to protect her. I just didn't know then how much it would cost us both. Mom died on a Tuesday morning in October. I wasn't there. I'd finally given in to her insistence that I go to school, that I couldn't put my life on hold forever. Aunt Celeste called me out of third period, but by the time I reached the hospital, it was too late. Dad didn't show up until the funeral 3 days later. He brought Delilah. She's my support system, he explained when I confronted him in the church parking lot. I'm grieving too, Quinn. I watched them sit in the back row, her hand on his knee, and something inside me hardened. Mom's sister, her best friend from nursing school, her colleagues, they filled the front pews. But her husband of 20 years couldn't even sit with the family. After the service, everyone gathered at our house. I stood in Mom's kitchen, watching strangers eat casseroles off her favorite plates until Uncle Ronan touched my shoulder. The lawyer's here, he said quietly. Your mom wanted this done today. I followed him to Dad's old office, where a thin man in wire-rimmed glasses waited with Aunt Celeste. Dad slipped in just as the lawyer began speaking. Mrs. Bennett was very specific about her wishes, the lawyer said, pulling out a document. The house and all its contents are to pass directly to Quinn upon her 18th birthday, which I understand is in 3 months. What? Dad's voice cut through the room. That's impossible. I'm her husband. Was her husband. The house should go to me. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. Mrs. Bennet had the deed transferred solely to her name 2 months ago. Given the circumstances of your separation and the missed support payments, she wanted to ensure Quinn's future security. I remembered Mom's late nights at the kitchen table, the papers she'd been signing. She'd planned this, knowing what was coming. "This is ridiculous," Dad sputtered. "Quinn's a child. She can't manage a property." "I managed just fine while you were gone," I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. "While you were buying Delilah jewelry with Mom's insurance money." His face reddened. "That's not." Furthermore, the lawyer continued, Mrs. Bennet left a letter explaining her decision. He handed me an envelope. She asked that Quinn read it privately. I clutched the envelope, Mom's familiar handwriting burning into my palm. Dad stood up abruptly. "I'll contest this," he threatened. "You can't just." "Actually, he can." Aunt Celeste cut in. Everything was done legally. Evelyn made sure of it. Dad stormed out. Through the window, I watched him join Delilah in his new car, the one he'd bought while Mom was dying. Later that night, after everyone left, I sat in Mom's room and opened her letter. Her scent still clung to the pages. "My dearest Quinn," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm so sorry I couldn't fight longer. But I need you to know something. You were always stronger than me. Where I tried to keep peace by staying silent, you spoke truth. Where I accepted less than I deserved, you demanded better." Tears blurred the words, but I kept reading. "The house is yours because you're the one who made it a home these past months. Your father will be angry, but remember, his anger comes from shame, not righteousness. Don't let it touch you." The last paragraph caught in my throat. "I know you want justice for what happened, sweetheart. But don't let revenge consume you. Live well. That's the best revenge of all." A noise downstairs startled me. I found Dad in the living room, running his hands over Mom's antique bookshelf. "I helped her pick this out," he said, not looking at me. "Our first anniversary. You should go." He turned eyes red.
Quinn, please.
"We need to talk about this house situation." "No, we don't." I held up Mom's letter. "She made her choice. Just like you made yours." "I'm still your father." "Are you?" I met his gaze. "Because fathers don't abandon their dying wives. They don't steal their medication money for Vegas trips with their mistresses." He flinched. "How did you get out?" My voice was ice. "And tell Delilah, if she wants Mom's house, she'll have to find another man to buy it for her. Because you're not welcome here anymore." I watched him leave, Mom's letter clutched to my chest like armor. 3 months until I turned 18. 3 months until the house was legally mine.
I just had to survive until then.
I came home from my 18th birthday dinner at Aunt Celeste to find Dad's car in our driveway. Not just his car, a moving van too. They were already inside when I opened the door. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," Dad said, standing in our living room like he belonged there. Delilah was arranging photos on Mom's antique sideboard, their photos replacing Mom's. "What are you doing?" My voice sounded distant, even to myself. "Moving in." Dad gestured around the room. "Now that you're 18, we need to discuss the house situation like adults." "There's nothing to discuss." I moved to grab one of their photos, but Dad caught my wrist. "Actually, there is." His grip tightened slightly. "I've spoken to another lawyer. Your mother wasn't in her right mind when she changed the deed. The medication, the stress, we can contest the will." "Let go of me." He released my wrist, his expression softening. "Quinn, be reasonable. You're starting college soon. You can't maintain a house by yourself." "She's right, Quinn." Delilah chimed in, her voice honey-sweet. "We just want to help." I stared at her, at the expensive watch on her wrist, Mom's insurance money glinting in the lamplight. "Help yourselves, you mean?" "That's enough." Dad's voice hardened. "This is still legally my house too. I'm moving back in, and we're going to be a family whether you like it or not." "Family?" I laughed, the sound sharp and foreign. "Is that what you call this?" "Quinn."
No.
I pulled out my phone. "You have 1 hour to get out, or I'm calling the police. The deed's in my name now." Dad stepped closer, his facade cracking. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Miles, Delilah called from the kitchen. Come look at this. We found her holding Mom's recipe box, rifling through the cards. These are so quaint. Though, I suppose we could digitize the good ones. I snatched the box from her hands. Don't touch her things. They're not just her things anymore, Dad snapped. This is our home now too. You need to accept that. Like you accepted Mom was dying? The words burst out. Like you accepted responsibility for stealing her medication money? Delilah's eyes widened. Miles, what is she talking about? Nothing, he said quickly. Quinn's just upset. I have proof. I pulled out my phone again, this time opening photos. Bank statements. Credit card bills. Even that receipt from the jewelry store where you bought Delilah's bracelet, the same day Mom needed her prescription refilled. Dad's face went pale. Where did you get those? Mom kept everything. I met his eyes. She knew what you were doing. She just loved you too much to fight back. You don't understand, he started, but Delilah cut him off. You said that money was from your savings, she said, stepping away from him. You said. I can explain. Dad turned to her, panic creeping into his voice. Baby, please. Don't bother. She grabbed her purse. I'll be at my sister's. Call me when you've sorted this mess out. The front door slammed behind her. Dad whirled on me, fury replacing panic. Are you happy now? He snarled. Destroying everything I've built. You destroyed it yourself. I clutched Mom's recipe box closer. Now get out.
No.
He grabbed the box, trying to wrench it away. You don't get to play martyr here. You're just a child. The box ripped apart between us, recipe cards scattering across the floor like fallen leaves. Mom's handwriting blurred as tears filled my eyes. Get out, I screamed, shoving him hard. Get out, get out, get out. He stumbled backward, catching himself on the sideboard. One of his photos crashed to the floor, glass shattering. This isn't over, he said, his voice shaking. I'll be back with the police. With lawyers. You can't. I already called them. Aunt Celeste's voice came from the doorway. She stood there with Uncle Ronan, phone in hand. They're on their way, along with the lawyer who handled Evelyn's will. Dad looked between us, trapped. Finally, he grabbed his keys. You'll regret this, he said at the door. All of it. After he left, I collapsed among Mom's scattered recipes, trying to gather the pieces of her handwriting, of our life before everything broke. He'll be back, I whispered. Let him try, Aunt Celeste said, kneeling beside me. We're ready this time. But as police sirens wailed in the distance, I wondered if I was ready for what came next. A week after the police escort, Delilah showed up alone. I found her sitting on our front porch, one hand resting on her stomach. I'm pregnant, she said before I could speak. It's Miles's. The world tilted sideways for a moment. Through the window beside me, I could see Mom's favorite rose bush blooming, the last one she'd planted before getting sick. That's not my problem, I said, but Delilah was already standing, moving closer. The baby deserves a home, Quinn. Your father's child, your sibling. I stepped back. Is that why you're here? To guilt me into letting you stay. I'm here because I understand you. She touched my arm. We're both survivors, both trying to secure our futures. The pieces clicked together suddenly, her expensive watch, the new car, the way she kept checking her phone. Who is he? I asked. She blinked. What? The other man. The one you're really planning your future with. Color drained from her face. I don't. I saw the text, Delilah, on Dad's phone that night. My voice was steady now. The ones where you complained about him losing everything. About needing someone more stable. You don't understand. Actually, I do. I pulled away from her touch. You're just like him. Using people until something better comes along. Her mask cracked.
Fine.
Yes, I'm seeing someone else. Richard has money, real money. Not your father's desperate schemes and empty promises. Does Dad know? Of course not. She laughed bitterly. Miles sees what he wants to see, just like your mother did. The mention of Mom sparked something in me. Get out. Quinn, be reasonable. This house is worth nothing to you. Let Miles buy it. Give us all a fresh start. A fresh start? I pulled out my phone, showing her the screen. Like the fresh start you're planning with Richard? The beach house in Miami you've been looking at? Her eyes widened. How did you? I learned from Mom's mistakes. I keep records of everything now. I pressed play on a recording, her voice discussing plans with Richard, mentioning the pregnancy, laughing about Miles's desperation. You little. I'm sending copies to Dad. I cut her off. And Richard. Let's see how they both feel about your fresh start. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I opened the door wider. Now get off my property before I call the police. Again. She grabbed her purse, hands shaking. You're just like your mother, self-righteous, thinking you're better than everyone else. No, I said quietly. I'm what Mom should have been. Someone who fights back. As she stormed off, Dad's car pulled up. He got out, looking between us in confusion. Delilah? What's going on? I hit send on my phone. His pinged immediately. Why don't you ask her about Richard? I suggested. Or about her plans for the beach house. Or maybe start with why she's been lying about the pregnancy timeline. Dad's face changed as he read his phone. What is this? The truth, I said. Something neither of you are very good at. Delilah was already in her car, engine running. Dad ran after her, calling her name, but she peeled away from the curb. He turned back to me, devastation written across his face. Quinn, please. Don't. I held up my hand. You wanted to play family? This is what your choices got you. I have nothing left, he whispered. Now you know how Mom felt. I stepped inside. Goodbye, Dad. As I closed the door, I caught a glimpse of his reflection in the glass, shoulders slumped, defeat etched in every line. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Then I remembered Mom's last days, when he was nowhere to be found. Remembered the unpaid bills and empty promises. I turned away from the door and walked into the kitchen. Mom's recipe box sat on the counter, carefully repaired. Inside, along with her handwritten cards, I'd placed her final letter to me. Live well, she'd written. That's the best revenge. Looking around at our home, my home now, I finally understood what she meant. 6 months after Delilah left, I found Dad sitting in his car outside our house. He looked older, grayer, his designer clothes replaced by a worn jacket I remembered from before the affair. I was in the middle of packing for college, Mom's recipe box already carefully wrapped and labeled for the move. The house had a for rent sign in the yard. Aunt Celeste had helped me find a good property manager. I could have ignored him, gone back inside. Instead, I walked to his car and tapped on the window. You can't keep doing this, I said when he rolled it down. I know. He gestured vaguely at the house. I drive by sometimes. Remember things. Like what? The day we brought you home from the hospital. Your mother insisted on painting the nursery herself, even though she was exhausted. He smiled faintly. She never did anything halfway. No, I agreed. She didn't. We sat in silence for a moment, watching a family tour the house with a property manager. Delilah lost the baby, he said finally. If there ever was one. She's in Miami now with him. I know. At his surprised look, I added. She sent me a letter.
Trying to apologize, I think.
Or justify herself. Did you read it?
No.
I touched the house key in my pocket. Mom's key. Some things don't need explaining. Dad nodded slowly. I started seeing someone. A therapist. This did surprise me. Dad had always dismissed therapy as paying strangers to listen to your problems. She's helping me understand some things, he continued, about why I hurt the people who loved me most. And, do you understand now? He laughed hollowly. I understand that I was terrified of being ordinary, of not being special enough to keep someone like your mother loving me. So I created drama, excitement, anything to feel important. He looked at me directly. But all I did was destroy the most important things I had. Mom loved you, I said quietly, until the end. I know. His voice cracked. That's what makes it worse. The family touring the house came outside, talking excitedly. The mother reminded me of Mom. Same gentle smile, same way of touching her children's shoulders as they walked. I'm keeping the house, I said. But I'm renting it out while I'm at college. The income will help with tuition. Smart. Dad smiled slightly. Like your mother. The therapist, I hesitated. Is it helping?
Yes.
I think so. He straightened in his seat. If you're willing, maybe we could talk sometimes. Not now, but when you're ready. I thought about Mom's last letter, about living well being the best revenge. Maybe this was part of it, not forgetting, but not letting the past poison the future either. Maybe, I said. But not here. This house. It needs to be something new now. I understand. He started the car. Quinn?
I'm sorry.
For everything. I know. I watched him drive away, then turn back to the house. The family was signing rental papers on the porch, my porch, where Mom used to drink her morning coffee, where Dad had taught me to ride a bike, where everything had both ended and begun again. Inside, I finished packing Mom's recipe box. Between the cards, I found a photo I'd forgotten about. Mom and Dad on their wedding day, young and laughing, full of hope for the future. I almost threw it away, but something stopped me. Instead, I tucked it into my wallet, behind Mom's last letter. Not because I'd forgiven everything, but because sometimes remembering who people were helps you understand who they've become. The next morning, as I loaded the last boxes into Aunt Celeste's car, I looked back at the house one final time. Mom's roses were blooming again, bright and stubborn against the fading paint. Ready? Aunt Celeste called. Yeah, I said, locking the door. I'm ready. Some people might call it running away, starting fresh at college while strangers lived in my family home. But Mom would understand. Sometimes moving forward means leaving things behind, and sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply learning to live well, on your own terms.
I sat in my parents' living room, watching my brother Kaysen pace dramatically across the hardwood floors I'd secretly paid for. The same floors that had cost an extra $12,000 because Mom insisted on Brazilian cherry. The same floors I'd been told I wasn't welcome to walk on when I suggested they downsize 5 years ago. My name is Ren, and I'm the family failure who just finished paying off their mortgage. It's a temporary setback, Kaysen announced, running his hands through his perfectly styled hair. I just need everyone to pitch in a little. $20,000 should cover it until the next quarter. Aunt Natalia gasped sympathetically. Oh, sweetheart, of course we'll help. I took another sip of wine and kept my mouth shut. The familiar weight of disapproving stares pressed against my skin as relatives reached for their phones, already pulling up their banking apps. My sister Paisley shot me a pointed look from across the room. Ren, my mother Virginia's voice cut through the murmuring. Aren't you going to help your brother? I set my glass down carefully. No. The room went silent. Dad's jaw tightened, that familiar tension that always preceded a lecture about family loyalty. What do you mean, no? Kaysen demanded, stopping his theatrical pacing to stare at me. I mean no. I won't be contributing to your emergency fund. Mom stood up, hands clasped together like she was praying for patience. Ren, honestly, you work in finance. We all know you have the means to help. The means isn't the issue, I replied quietly. The answer is still no, Paisley scoffed. This is so typical. You always think you're better than us, don't you? Sitting there in your designer blazer, judging everyone. I glanced down at my Target clearance rack jacket and chose not to correct her. I'm not judging anyone. I'm just declining to participate. After everything this family has done for you? Mom's voice cracked with practiced emotion. We've always supported you, even when you insisted on moving out at 22. Because I got a job offer in the city, I interrupted. Even when you broke poor Harley's heart. He cheated on me with Summer. And now you can't even help your own brother in his time of need? Aunt Natalia shook her head sadly. Virginia, some people just don't understand family values. You've done your best with her. I watched as my cousin Layla shifted uncomfortably in her seat. She was the only one who'd bothered to ask what actually happened with Harley. $20,000 isn't help, I said evenly. It's enabling. Kaysen's face reddened. You don't know anything about business. This is a legitimate temporary cash flow issue. What's the business? I asked. He blinked. What? What's the name of your business? What does it do? Who are your clients? The silence stretched thin. Dad cleared his throat. Ren, that's enough. If you're not going to contribute anything positive to this conversation, maybe you should leave. I stood up, smoothing my discount blazer. You're right, I should. Running away again, Paisley muttered. So predictable. I paused at the doorway, looking back at the crown molding I'd funded, the fresh paint I'd financed, the family photos where I was consistently positioned at the edges. The final mortgage payment had cleared last week. 5 years of automatic transfers, 60 months of silent support, over $180,000 of my life poured into these walls. You know what's predictable? I said softly. The fact that none of you have ever asked how this house got saved from foreclosure 5 years ago. Not once. Mom waved her hand dismissively. Your father handled all that. Did he? Something in my tone made Dad look up sharply, but I was already walking away. Behind me, I could hear them returning to the familiar comfort of criticizing my attitude, my selfishness, my failure to meet their standards. I stepped out onto the porch, breathing in the cool evening air. My phone buzzed, probably another family member texting to express their disappointment in me. Instead, it was an email confirmation. Mortgage paid in full, auto renewal canceled as requested. I smiled, looking back at the warm light spilling from the windows, at my family laughing and drinking inside. They had no idea what was coming. The thought should have made me sad, but all I felt was a strange, quiet peace. Let them laugh. Let them drink. Let them bask in the glow of their perfect family illusion for a few more weeks. Soon enough, they'd learn exactly what happens when the family failure finally fails them. I got in my car and drove away from the house I owned but never belonged in, leaving them to their borrowed time and borrowed luxury. Sometimes the best revenge isn't a bang, but a whisper. And I had 5 years' worth of whispers about to turn into screams. 5 years ago, I sat across from my parents at their kitchen table, watching them stare at the foreclosure notice like it was written in alien script. Mom's hands trembled as she clutched her coffee mug. Dad's face had aged 10 years overnight. We just need more time, he kept saying. The market will turn around. I knew it wouldn't. The housing crash had decimated their real estate investments, and Kaysen's failed restaurant venture had drained their savings. They'd refinanced twice already. There was nowhere left to turn. What about Kaysen? Mom asked desperately. He said his new business plan is another fantasy, I cut in, earning a sharp look from Dad. You know it is. Well, we have to do something, she snapped. We can't lose this house. What would people think? I pulled out my laptop and opened my banking app. I have a solution. Ren, please, Dad sighed. This isn't the time for your lectures about downsizing. No lectures. I turned the screen toward them. I can take over the mortgage payments. They stared at my account balance in silence. Years of living below my means, investing wisely, and staying out of drama had left me with substantial savings. Absolutely not, Dad said firmly. Why not? Because... He struggled. Because we're the parents. We take care of you, not the other way around. I laughed quietly. When was the last time you actually took care of me? The truth hung heavy between us. They hadn't supported me since college. Every crisis, every family emergency fund had gone to Kaysen or Paisley. I have conditions, I said, pulling out a document I'd prepared. The payments will be automatic, directly to the bank. No one else in the family needs to know. You keep living your life, maintain your image, whatever makes you happy. But this stays between us. Mom reached for the paper, but Dad pulled it away. This isn't right. Neither is losing everything because you won't accept help from the wrong child. His face reddened, but Mom grabbed his arm. Quentin, please, we don't have a choice. 2 hours later, the papers were signed. I'd become their secret savior, and they'd become my silent burden. The memory faded as my phone buzzed, bringing me back to the present. A text from Layla. Can we meet for coffee? That thing at the reunion. I need to talk to you. I met her at a quiet cafe downtown. She was already there, fidgeting with her cup sleeve. Kaysen's lying, she blurted out as soon as I sat down, about the business emergency. I know. No, you don't understand. He came to me first, before the reunion. Tried to get me to invest in some crypto scheme. When I refused, he got angry and admitted he's in debt to some really bad people. I stirred my coffee slowly. Not surprising. Aren't you worried about him? I stopped worrying about Kaysen's problems when I realized they're actually his choices. Layla leaned forward. There's something else. Aunt Virginia was talking to my mom yesterday. They're planning to ask you for more money. They think you're being selfish, hiding your wealth. I pulled out my phone and showed her the mortgage confirmation email. Her eyes widened. Wait, you've been paying for 5 years. Does anyone else know? They will soon. I put my phone away. The automatic payments have stopped. No renewal. Layla sat back, understanding dawning on her face. Oh my God, they're going to lose everything. They're going to lose what I gave them, I corrected. There's a difference. Ren, she hesitated. I get why you're doing this, but it's going to destroy them. No, it's going to expose them. They destroyed themselves a long time ago. My phone buzzed again. A text from Mom. We need to discuss something important. Come for dinner tomorrow? I showed Layla the message. She shook her head slowly. You're not like them, Ren, she said quietly. And they're going to learn that when it's too late. I declined Mom's dinner invitation with a simple, can't, work deadline. It wasn't exactly a lie. I did have work to do. Letting go of 5 years of silent resentment takes effort. But for the first time since I signed those mortgage papers, I felt lighter, free. Let them scramble. Let them scheme. Let them try to manipulate more money out of their family failure. The house of cards was already falling. They just didn't know it yet. I hugged Layla goodbye and walked to my car, leaving my coffee untouched. I didn't need caffeine anymore. The thought of what was coming was energy enough. My mother's number flashed across my phone screen for the 3rd time that morning. I let it ring while finishing up a work report, knowing exactly what was coming. When it finally stopped, a text appeared. Ren, please, this is important. Call me. I took a deep breath and dialed her number. She answered on the first ring. Finally, I've been trying to reach you all morning. I was in meetings, I lied. What's up? Well, she paused for dramatic effect. I wanted to talk to you privately about Kaysen's situation, away from all the drama at the reunion. I continued typing, letting the silence stretch. The thing is, sweetheart, we know you're comfortable, financially speaking, and family should help family quietly, don't you think? Without all the public discussion. Mom, just hear me out. 20,000 is a lot to ask publicly. I understand that. But maybe we could arrange something more discreet. A private contribution? I know you have money, Ren. We're family. The condescension in her tone made my fingers pause over the keyboard. 5 years of similar conversations flooded back. Always about Kaysen, always about money, always with that same patronizing voice. No, I said simply. Excuse me? I said no. I won't be contributing anything, publicly or privately. She sucked in a sharp breath. I don't understand why you're being so difficult about this. After everything we've done. What exactly have you done, Mom? I raised you. I supported your choices even when they were questionable. I laughed quietly. Name one choice of mine you actually supported. The silence was telling. "This isn't about my choices," she finally said. "This is about helping your brother in his time of need. Kayson's entire life is a time of need. I'm done enabling it. How dare you? He's trying to build something, to make something of himself. By scamming family members out of their savings?" Another weighted pause. "What are you talking about? Ask Layla about the crypto scheme he tried to pull her into. Or don't. I don't care anymore." "You're just jealous," she snapped. "You've always been jealous of your brother's ambition." I closed my laptop, suddenly tired. "Goodbye, Mom. Don't you dare hang up on me. We're not finished." I ended the call and blocked her number. Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. Kayson had posted on social media. "Some people don't understand loyalty. Sad when money matters more than family. Chas, toxic sibling. Chas, family first." Paisley commented, "Some people were just raised different. Thank God Mom and Dad taught us better values." I screenshot the posts without commenting. Evidence for later. My work phone rang. It was Cole, my boss. "Ren, got a minute? The Singapore account needs immediate attention." "On it," I replied, grateful for the distraction. "You okay? You sound tired." "Family stuff. Nothing important." "Ah," he said knowingly. "Well, if you need to take some personal time, actually, I'd rather work. Work makes sense. That's why you're my best analyst. Speaking of which, that promotion we discussed, the paperwork's ready whenever you are." I glanced at my phone. 3 missed calls from Dad now. "I'll stop by your office this afternoon." After hanging up, I checked my email. There it was, buried between meeting requests and quarterly reports. A notice from the bank. "Mortgage closed. Contact us regarding new mortgage arrangement." I forwarded it to my parents' email address without comment. Let them puzzle over that for a while. My phone buzzed again. "Layla. They're talking about getting a lawyer to force you to help. Something about family financial obligation laws." I snorted. "Tell them to go ahead. I'd love to see their faces when they have to explain their finances in court. This is going to get ugly, isn't it?" "It's been ugly for years, Layla. The only difference is now everyone will see it." A final text came through, from an unknown number. I recognized Aunt Natalia's writing style. "Your mother is in tears. I hope you're happy with yourself. We always knew you'd turn on your family eventually. Shame on you." I saved the message with the others. More evidence for the storm that was coming. Opening my desk drawer, I pulled out a folder labeled Family Finances. Inside were 5 years of mortgage payments, bank statements, and emails. Everything documented, everything dated. They wanted to talk about family obligations? Fine. Let's talk about all of them. The first panicked call came at 6 a.m. I watched my mother's name flash across my screen while sipping my morning coffee. By noon, I had 17 missed calls, 32 text messages, and 1 hysterical voicemail. "Ren, something's wrong with the house paperwork. The bank says, I don't understand. Call me immediately." I forwarded the voicemail to my secure email, documenting everything. Then I went back to work. At 2 p.m., Paisley stormed into my office. I didn't bother asking how she got past security. "What did you do?" she demanded, slamming her hands on my desk. I calmly moved my coffee away from her trembling fingers. "I assume Mom got the bank notice? The mortgage is closed. How is that even possible? Dad said everything was handled." "Clearly not. Fix this," she hissed. "Whatever game you're playing, fix it now." I leaned back in my chair. "I'm not playing any games. The mortgage is paid off, that's all." "Paid off? By who? Whom? Don't you dare get smart with me. Mom's having a breakdown, Dad's not making any sense, and Kayson—" "Let me guess," I interrupted. "Kayson's disappeared?" Her face flushed. "He's dealing with some business matters." "Is that what we're calling it now?" My office phone buzzed. "Ms. Walker, your 2:30 is here." "Thank you. Send them in." I stood up. "You need to leave, Paisley." "I'm not going anywhere until—" "Security will remove you if necessary. Your choice." She grabbed her designer purse, probably bought with borrowed money, and pointed a manicured finger at me. "This isn't over. Family meeting tonight. Be there." "No." "Excuse me?" I said no, I'm done with family meetings. "You don't have a choice." I smiled thinly. "Actually, I do. That's what none of you have ever understood." My 2:30 appointment appeared in the doorway, Cole, with the promotion paperwork. Paisley took one look at him and stormed out, nearly knocking over a potted plant. "Family troubles?" Cole asked, raising an eyebrow. "Nothing I can't handle." My phone buzzed again. "Layla, your dad's at my parents' house. He's talking about second mortgages. Kayson's not answering anyone's calls." I replied, "Stay out of it. Trust me." Another text arrived, this time from Dad. "We need to talk face to face, now." I turned my phone off and focused on Cole. "Let's discuss that relocation package." By evening, my inbox was flooded. The family group chat had exploded. "Mom. Emergency family meeting tonight, non-negotiable." Paisley. "Someone needs to explain where all the money went." Aunt Natalia. "I always said that house was too much trouble." Dad. "Everyone calm down. We'll sort this out." Kayson. No response. I stayed silent, watching the chaos unfold. Another message from Layla popped up. "They're saying you somehow sabotaged the mortgage, that you must have done something illegal." I laughed out loud in my empty apartment. If they only knew how legal everything had been. How meticulously I documented every payment, every transaction, every conversation for 5 years. My landline rang, the one number they didn't have. It was Cole. "Promotion paperwork's processed. You can start in the Seattle office next month if you want." I looked around my apartment, at the boxes I'd already started packing. Perfect timing. "Everything okay? You seemed tense earlier." "Just watching a house of cards collapse." "Anything I should worry about?" "No," I said, smiling as another frantic text lit up my phone. "Everything's falling exactly where it should." After hanging up, I finally checked the voicemail Mom had left an hour ago. "We're having a family meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. Your attendance is not optional. If you don't show up, we'll know exactly what kind of person you really are." I typed out a single response to the group chat. "I'll be there, and I'm bringing receipts." Then I opened my safe and pulled out the folder containing 5 years of mortgage statements, bank transfers, and emails. Everything that proved who had really been holding up their perfect family facade. Tomorrow, they'd learn what kind of person I really was. The kind who kept every receipt, documented every lie, and finally stopped setting herself on fire to keep others warm. Let them call their emergency meeting. I had an inferno of truth, ready to burn their illusions to ash. I arrived at exactly 7 p.m., folder tucked under my arm. The house was lit up like Christmas, every room blazing as if they were trying to burn away their problems with electricity. I wondered if they'd noticed I'd been paying that bill too. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Finally, everyone's waiting. The living room was packed. Dad occupied his usual armchair, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Paisley paced by the window, while Aunt Natalia and Uncle Alexander whispered on the couch. Even Layla was there, perched uncomfortably on an ottoman. Kayson was conspicuously absent. "Where's the golden child?" I asked, setting my folder on the coffee table. "He's unavailable," Mom said tightly. "Now we need to discuss." "Let me guess. He's gone dark because his business emergency was actually a gambling debt?" Paisley stopped pacing. "How did you—" "Because I'm not an idiot." I sat down, crossing my legs. "So, who wants to start?" Dad leaned forward. "The bank says our mortgage account is closed, completely paid off, but that's impossible." "Is it?" "Of course it is," Mom burst out. "We had years left on the payments. The bank must have made a mistake." "No mistake." I opened my folder and pulled out the first document. "The mortgage has been paid in full, all 60 months of payments, right on schedule." Aunt Natalia frowned. "Quentin, you said you were handling the mortgage." "I was," Dad protested. I thought there was an arrangement. Yes, I said quietly. There was. I laid out the bank statements one by one. 5 years of automatic transfers, each one highlighted. The room fell silent as they stared at the numbers. "This is impossible," Mom whispered. "These payments, they're from my account, yes. But that's over $100,000. $183,420 to be exact." I placed the final statement on top, plus property taxes, insurance, and utilities. Paisley grabbed one of the papers. "I don't understand. Why would you—" "Because 5 years ago this house was about to be foreclosed. Remember that, Dad? After Kaysen's restaurant failed and drained your savings?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "You've been paying our mortgage?" Mom's voice was small. "All this time? Someone had to, and we all know it wouldn't be Kaysen." "Why didn't you tell us?" Aunt Natalia demanded. I laughed. Would it have mattered? Would it have changed how you treated me? How you all talked about me? "You're just doing this to hurt us," Paisley accused, her voice cracking. "To make us look bad." "Hurt you?" I stood up slowly. "I carried you, all of you. For 5 years I carried this family while you called me selfish, while you praised Kaysen's ambition and mocked my career, while you told everyone I was a failure because I wouldn't help the family." Layla spoke up from her corner. "That's why you never bought a house of your own. Couldn't afford both mortgages. Not that anyone ever asked why I was still renting." Mom started crying, real tears this time, not her usual performance. "But why stop now? Why tell everyone like this?" "Because I'm done. The mortgage is paid. The automatic payments have stopped. And now you all get to experience what it's like when the family failure finally fails you." "We'll lose everything," Dad said hoarsely. "No. You'll lose what I gave you. There's a difference." I gathered my documents back into the folder. "You have 30 days to figure out new arrangements. I suggest you start by asking Kaysen about that $20,000 he needed. I'm sure he'll be happy to help, given his family values." "Ren, please." Mom reached for my arm. "We can talk about this. We could have talked about it 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, or any time in between. But you didn't want to talk. You wanted to take and judge and pretend." I pulled away from her grasp. "The pretending stops now." "You can't just walk away," Paisley protested. "We're family." "No," I said, heading for the door. "We're just people who share DNA and a mortgage I paid for. There's a difference there, too." I left them in their borrowed luxury, surrounded by the evidence of their hypocrisy. Behind me, I could hear Mom starting to sob, Dad trying to talk about refinancing options, Aunt Natalia already on the phone spreading the news. Let them scramble. Let them cry. Let them finally face the truth about their perfect family and their failure daughter. I had receipts for everything, except their love. And that, I realized, was the only debt that really mattered. The fallout spread through the family like wildfire. By morning, my phone was flooded with messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Some were furious, calling me manipulative and cruel. Others suddenly wanted to reconnect, probably hoping I had more secret money to share. I deleted them all. Layla's text was the only one I read. "They're more angry at being exposed than at what they did to you." I was in Cole's office when Paisley made her second appearance at my workplace. "Your sister's here again," my assistant messaged. "Security is asking what to do." "Don't let her up," I replied, then turned back to Cole. "About that Seattle position. The office is ready whenever you are." He studied my face. "Family still giving you trouble?" "Not for much longer. I signed the transfer papers. When can I start?" "Next month. But Ren..." He hesitated. "Are you sure you want to leave like this?" My phone buzzed. Aunt Natalia posting in the family group chat. "Just heard from Virginia. The refinancing application was denied. How could you do this to your own parents? I showed Cole the message. Pretty sure. Back at my desk, I found an email from Kaysen, the first contact since he disappeared. Need to talk, I can explain everything. Please don't tell Mom and Dad about the casino debts. Delete. My office phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Is this Ren? A familiar voice asked. My stomach tightened. Harley? Hey. Long time no talk. My ex's voice was tentative. I heard what's happening with your family. From who? Summer? I named his wife pointedly. Look, I know we ended badly, but I always cared about you. If you need someone to talk to? I hung up. Some people never change. They just wait for moments of weakness. Another message from Layla. Kaysen finally showed up. He's trying to convince everyone he can fix this with some new investment scheme. Uncle Alexander is actually considering it. I replied, their choice, not my problem anymore. My phone rang again. Mom, what do you want? Your father and I have been talking, she said, her voice shaking. We understand you're hurt, but surely we can work something out. Maybe a new payment plan? No. Ren, please. This house, it's our home. No, Mom. It was my investment. One that never paid off. She started crying again. How can you be so cold? After everything. After everything you did? Or everything you didn't do? I'm your mother. Only when it costs me something. I ended the call and turned back to my computer, where an email from the Seattle office waited. My new apartment was ready, fully furnished as requested. New city, new start, new life. My desk phone buzzed again. Ms. Walker, there's a delivery for you. A large envelope arrived from the bank, final confirmation of the mortgage closure and a refund check for overpayment. $1,200. The last ghost of my 5-year sacrifice. Layla called just as I was leaving the office. They're saying you planned this all along, that you deliberately set them up to fail. I laughed. They really can't accept that they did this to themselves, can they? Aunt Virginia's moving in with Paisley next week. The house. They can't keep it. I know. Kaysen's talking about moving to Florida. Something about a fresh start. Running away, you mean? Yeah. She paused. Are you really moving to Seattle? Next month. Will you ever come back? I looked at the refund check on my desk. Nothing to come back to. That night, I sat in my half-packed apartment and opened my laptop. The family group chat was still exploding. Mom. Please, everyone pray for our family in this difficult time. Paisley. Can't believe my own sister would do this to us. Aunt Natalia. Some people just don't have hearts. Uncle Alexander. Maybe Kaysen's new investment idea could help. I left the chat without commenting. Let them spin their stories. Let them play their roles. Let them convince themselves they were the victims. The truth had a way of lasting longer than lies. My phone lit up one final time, a message from Mom. Tell me this didn't give you joy. I stared at the words for a long moment before typing my response. Joy? No. Freedom? Yes. Then I blocked her number, turned off my phone, and started packing the rest of my life into boxes. Sometimes the heaviest things we carry are the expectations of people who never carried us at all. And sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away, leaving them to face the emptiness they created. The estate auction notice arrived in my email 3 weeks later. Someone, probably Layla, had added me to the distribution list. The photos showed my parents' house stripped bare, each room a hollow echo of its former pretense. I didn't delete the email. Instead, I printed it out and added it to my folder. One last receipt. My phone rang. Cole calling from Seattle. Your office is ready. When are you flying out? Tomorrow morning. I looked around my empty apartment. Just one stop to make first. You sure that's wise? I thought about the letter in my purse. No, but it's necessary. The morning of the auction dawned cold and clear. I parked across the street, watching potential buyers file into the house where I'd poured 5 years of my life. Each one carried a bidder's number, ready to pick apart the remnants of my family's facade. Mom and Dad stood off to the side, looking small and old. Paisley hovered nearby, probably already planning how to spin this on social media. No sign of Kaysen. Last I heard, he'd actually gone through with moving to Florida. I waited until the auction started before approaching the house. No one noticed me. They were too busy bidding on the Brazilian cherry floors I'd paid for. The mailbox still worked. I slipped the envelope inside, unsigned, built on silence, maintained in shame. Let it fall with your lies. I wondered if you'd come. I turned to find Layla standing behind me. Just saying goodbye, I said. To the house? Or to them? Both, neither. I shrugged. Does it matter? She glanced at the auction scene. Aunt Virginia's been telling everyone you'll change your mind, that you'll swoop in at the last minute and save them again. Of course she is. Will you? I laughed softly. Would you? Inside, I could hear the auctioneer's voice rising. Sold to bidder number 47. Mom's cry carried across the lawn. Dad put his arm around her, but his face was blank, defeated. Paisley was already walking away, phone to her ear, probably calling her husband to complain about having to house her parents. They're saying you destroyed the family, Layla said quietly. The family destroyed itself. I just stopped holding the pieces together. A moving truck pulled up. The new owners weren't wasting any time. I watched as Mom sank to her knees, her perfect image finally cracking completely. Shouldn't you? Layla gestured toward them. No. I turned away. I've spent enough time picking up their pieces. My phone buzzed, a text from Kaysen. Found out about the gambling debts, didn't you? That's why you stopped the payments. Real nice, sis. Real nice. I showed Layla the message. She shook her head. Still making it about him. Some things never change. But some things do. I deleted his number. My flight leaves in 3 hours. Seattle, right? New job? New everything. She hugged me suddenly. They never deserved you, you know. I know. That's why I'm leaving. Behind us, the auctioneer continued. Next item. Family portrait collection, including frames. I didn't stay to hear the bids. Some things weren't worth their price, no matter how much you paid. Back in my car, I took one last look at the house. Mom had recovered enough to stand, leaning heavily on Dad. Paisley was back, gesturing dramatically as she talked to the auctioneer. The new owners were already measuring for renovations. My phone lit up with notifications. Mom, if you're reading this, it's not too late, please. Paisley, hope you're happy with yourself. Aunt Natalia, some daughter you turned out to be. Layla, safe travels, don't look back. I started the engine and pulled away from the curb. In my rearview mirror, I watched the house shrink, becoming smaller and less significant with each passing block. The guilt I'd expected to feel never came. Instead, there was only a quiet certainty, a peaceful understanding that some debts can never be repaid. Not because they're too large, but because they were never valid to begin with. At a red light, I opened my banking app and looked at my account. Without the mortgage payments, my balance was higher than it had ever been. Enough for a down payment on my own house, maybe. Or investments that would actually pay returns. The light turned green. I drove toward the airport, leaving behind the house that was never a home, the family that was never mine, and the weight of expectations I was finally strong enough to set down. Sometimes the heaviest chains are the ones we forge ourselves, and sometimes the strongest thing we can do is finally let them break. The Seattle rain tapped against my office window as I reviewed the quarterly reports. My phone buzzed. Layla's weekly check-in. You'll never guess who showed up at my door yesterday. Kaysen, back from Florida claiming he's found himself, asked if I knew your new address. I smiled. What did you tell him? That he lost the right to know that information about $180,000 ago. My assistant knocked, holding a certified letter. This just arrived for you. The bank's logo caught my eye, Inside was a check for $200. Final account reconciliation, overpayment refund. I stared at the amount, the exact cost of the Brazilian cherry flooring my mother had insisted on. The universe had a sense of humor after all. Still there? Layla asked. Yeah, just got the last piece of the puzzle. Speaking of pieces, did you see Paisley's social media post? I hadn't. I'd blocked them all months ago. But I could imagine something sanctimonious about forgiveness and family loyalty, probably with a filtered photo of her comforting our mother. Mom and Dad are living in her guest house now, Layla continued. She makes sure everyone knows what a sacrifice she's making, though she conveniently leaves out the part about charging them rent. Of course she does. I picked up the check again. Hey, want to help me do something? An hour later, I was on a video call with the director of a women's financial independence charity. Ms. Walker, this donation is incredibly generous, she said, looking at the $200 figure on the form. May I ask what inspired it? Let's just say I understand the importance of financial freedom. After the call, Layla texted, perfect use for that money. Better than Brazilian cherry floors. My office phone rang. Cole. That Singapore account you restructured? Board's impressed. They're talking promotion. Again. Thanks, but I'm good where I am. You sure? It's a big opportunity. I looked out at the Seattle skyline, at my reflection in the rain-streaked window. I've learned that bigger isn't always better. Sometimes enough is exactly right. That evening I found a letter in my mailbox. No return address, but I recognized Layla's handwriting on the envelope. Inside was a photo from the auction. My parents standing lost in their empty house, Paisley dramatically consoling Mom, the auctioneer's gavel mid-fall. But in the background, through the window, you could just make out my figure at the mailbox, leaving my final message. I pinned it to my bulletin board, not as a reminder of what I'd lost, but of what I'd gained by letting go. My phone lit up with a news alert. Local restaurant chain files for bankruptcy. The owner's quote caught my eye. Despite significant family investment. I didn't need to read further. Kayson's latest venture, undoubtedly funded by whatever he'd squeezed from our relatives after Florida. The charity sent a confirmation email. Your donation will help 3 women escape financial abuse this month. I replied with one more donation, this time in Layla's name. She'd earned it. A final text came through as I was making dinner. An unknown number, but I knew who it was. Your father's having heart problems. Paisley's struggling with the medical bills. If you have any humanity left. I blocked Mom's new number and added it to my collection. She'd gone through 6 phones trying to reach me. Opening my laptop, I started typing, Dear Mom, I've been carrying this letter in my head for months. But today I realized something. You don't need to read it. I don't need you to understand. I don't need you to approve. I don't need you to change. I just need to be free. So this letter will never be sent. Like the mortgage I paid, the silence I kept, and the daughter you wanted me to be. It's something I'm letting go. Goodbye, Ren. I saved the file but didn't print it. Some words are more powerful unspoken. Instead, I opened my banking app and set up a new automatic payment, this time to my own future. No more mortgages built on silence, no more love measured in dollar signs. The rain had stopped. Through my window, I could see stars emerging in the clearing sky. Each one a tiny light, breaking through the darkness. Each one free, shining on its own terms. I thought about that last check, now transformed into something meaningful. Something that would help others break their own chains. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply becoming who you were always meant to be. Free.